Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Tainted Lands, Scourge of Antremoor. My name is R.D. Cresswell and I'm the Dungeon Master. We'll meet everyone else in just a moment, but first, during our last session, your characters found themselves in the village of Antremoor, after traveling there to pursue new opportunities. You met one another in the Humble Eel Inn and Tavern after playing or watching a few rounds of Dragon Quest with a bugbear fellow. You had drinks and discovered a notice board presenting the kinds of opportunities some of you were looking for, and you decided to pursue one, helping a goblin druid named Nerzel. She sought Deathroot from the swamps outside of town, and had tried collecting it herself but was attacked by a will-o-wisp with the face of a child. You agreed to her promise of reward, and you set off for the swamp where you encountered a misery of sturges. You defeated them and traveled further into the swamp and found the Deathroot. As you were harvesting it, the will-o-wisp attacked. It wailed like a child, and you could see the face of a child within its pale, yellow form. One of your number almost perished during the battle. It seemed drawn to them, releasing a pulse of pale yellow light that felled them. But your party was ultimately victorious, and the wisp died. When it did so, it faded from existence in this final pulse of this pale yellow light, and the remnants of a child's skull fell into the mud. You returned to Nerzel and presented her with the skull, and she paid you as promised. Then you returned to the inn with plans to seek out Samara. Now, Samara is the captain of the Bleeders, which is sort of this mercenary force that is overseeing the town since Lord Colburn is away. And she had posted this inquiry, and you had picked it up and decided that you were going to go see her the next day to kind of try to figure out whether or not it's something you would be interested in. But for the night, you were going to stay at the Humble Eel once more. Before we go any further, please subtract a gold for your night's stay and breakfast at the inn. Then take a moment to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your character. And it could have been the will-o-wisp. It could have been just the excitement from, combat, not specific to the will-o-wisp, but just, getting very amped up over that. But essentially, all of you found that your characters had super vivid dreams last night. Now, these could have been nightmares, or they might have just been, fairly vivid dreams. What I want you to do after you introduce yourself and tell us about your character is kind of share a dream or a remnant, a piece of a dream or something that your character might have had last night. So, Mario, we'll start with Luca.
So, I'm Mario. I'm playing Luca, the grave cleric, and Luca's night was interesting. He awoke and not really able to remember much, but what he does remember distinctly is a presence, massive, larger than life, with a black and purple crushed velvet gloved hand running it over his head and turning his head onto a path. It's a sort of cobweb covered gravel path that slowly begins to light up, glowing like a light blue in front of him. The path starts to shine brighter and brighter, and he knows that this is the Whisper showing him the way. As he walks over the crushed skull of the will-o-wisp, he understands that he is being shown the correct path. At least, that's what he believes as he awakens.
Okay, all right. Anna, if you'll share a little bit about, or tell us who you are, tell us a little bit about your character, and then share a dream that Astarel might have had last night.
So, yes, Anna, playing Astarel, wizard, squishy, yay. So, basically last night I dreamt that I was chasing the will-o'-the-wisp, and I was trying to ask it how it got to be like that, and why it had the face of a child. And that was basically running through the swamp, trying to catch it, failing miserably because I am weak and can't run that fast. And then I woke up and I'm like, ugh, just want to know how that happened. And I went about my day.
Okay, all right. Christy, if you'll introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about Fenestra, and then share a dream that Fenestra might have had the previous night.
Well, I'm Fenestra, drow, but super trustworthy. And she had a dream, and it was like, this is not the first you've been death to. Get up, carry on, you have a mission, carry forward.
Okay.
Basically.
All
They
right.
slapped her in the face and said, keep going.
Okay. All right. Elizabeth, introduce yourself, your character, and tell us a little bit about the dream.
So I'm Elizabeth. I'm playing Trunk, the Goblin Monk. I had not realized that rhymed until just now.
I did it on
An entire
purpose.
episode
I don't
in.
believe you.
I didn't. I really didn't. And Trunk had a dream. I really didn't. Where she was out gathering herbs, and then like a light comes up, and another light comes up, and another light comes up. And as they get closer, she sees that there are all of the faces of all of the children that were lost in the surrounding villages or in childbirth. Fez and Jeff and Sten and Frizzle. And they just sort of like surround her and consume her. And all the while she's just going, ah, she's kind of freaking out and wakes up in a sweat.
Okay. All right. Set. If you'll introduce yourself, your character, and tell us a little bit about the dream.
Okay, so I'm Set. I'm playing Kemen, and Kemen is a Moon Elf Ranger, and that was the weirdest thing that they've ever seen. So while he was trancing, she had basically replayed the whole scenario in their minds over and over again, trying to consider how could it have been different? How could it have, like, not sucked so bad? And that's how they spent their trance time, is meditating on that, and now they know cure wounds and want desperately to learn how to use an herbalism kit, and might ask Eldon and Trunk how to use that just in case they know. So, hoping to learn how to heal people so that they're a little more useful out on the field.
Okay. All right. David, introduce yourself, your character, and tell us about that dream.
Hi, I'm David. I'm playing Eldon. They are a forest gnome druid. No one's really seen forest gnomes too much, and this one looks particularly strange with a large mushroom cap, green pointy ears, very, very small. And he seems to be quite interested in the people at the inn, and went on an adventure with them into the moorlands nearby, where they encountered this strange will-o'-wisp. He's seen will-o'-wisp before, but this one with this strange child's face had quite the impression on him. And after going to sleep that night, he has dreamt of that child. The child is skipping through the forest until she comes upon the moorlands, and she's skipping unaware of her surroundings into the moorlands, where the vines begin to encroach around her, and she trips and falls, and on the ground she turns and struggles, but the vines grasp her, and she becomes covered in a swarm of all kinds of bugs, all kinds of swarming insects that basically eat her alive and slough away her skin. In this vivid dream, the white skull rises into the light, and that's when Eldon wakes with a start.
All right. Okay. So, we're picking up the following morning. Your characters have all rested for the night. I believe we talked about this, but you're all level 2 now, so I hope you had an opportunity to level your characters, and you're all squared away on that. And you got to choose some, cool or fun or interesting features for them. But other than the vivid dreams, you essentially had a, fairly restful night. And you're waking the next morning. Now, when you come downstairs, doesn't really matter who got there first, but eventually you'll find yourselves down within the humble eel, and you'll be kind of like a mass there for breakfast. Now, you had spoken the night before, And Fenestra had seemed very interested in one of the notices that she took off the board, which had essentially, let me find my notes on that real quick, but it had essentially read, "Escaped brigand, spotted in the Scratchwoods. Reward offered. See Captain Samara at the Guild Hall." Now, I explained once earlier, but just to kind of set the scene so everyone remembers, you just came to Antremoor and you came here seeking out opportunities. You know, many of you have goals and plans for the future ahead of you, or you feel like you're being led in certain paths. And none of you are from Antremoor, and you just recently got here. And when you got here, you began seeking out, adventure for yourself, or ways to prove yourself, or this path that you feel that you're drawn to. And you had found this notice board, with several opportunities on it. Fenestra found the one about Samara. Now, I had mentioned in the time that you've been here, you've learned that essentially Lord Colburn is away on kind of like a military campaign. And he's taken, a majority of the forces from the surrounding area, his army, essentially, for this military campaign. In their stead, there is a mercenary force in town, and that mercenary force is known as the Bleeders. You've learned that the captain of the Bleeders is Samara. You haven't seen her, you haven't met her, but you've heard by repute that she's kind of like half orc, half elven, and that she's just sort of this rigid military commander of this mercenary company. And they are stationed in the Guild Hall, which is kind of like, the town hall type area. It really has nothing to do with guilds at all whatsoever. They just have town meetings there, and it's known as the Guild Hall. So, Fenestra was kind of interested in that. But I'm not sure how everyone else felt about that. So let's pick up with you all having agreed to have met the following day. And you're just kind of around. You're having this breakfast. It's kind of like this mushroom stew. There are bits of things that look like they've been gathered, from the forest and tossed in. And it's, kind of like in this thicker sort of gravy. And it's served with bread and a bit of cheese and, ale or wine or whatever you would like. You've already paid for it. It's kind of on the table in front of you. As I mentioned last session as well, the humble inn, Eel and Tavern, seems as though it caters to kind of like sailor sort of clientele. There are ship wheels and nets and things like that within here. They serve a lot of fish kind of fare for dinner and things like that. And the proprietor of this inn is a man named Olin Iverson. And he's a human, male, kind of big guy, tattoos, eye patch, bushy mustache, looks the part of a former sailor. And again, you can tell it's really kind of geared toward that clientele. But you're all sitting around, you're having breakfast. So what I'd like to have you start with is just begin a little bit of role play, perhaps, discussing this possible job that Fenestra was interested in taking. So let's pick up with Fenestra, because you seemed the most interested in that notice that you found on the board.
She's gonna strut down and sit at the table, order a lot of meat, and she's gonna eat. And she's going to look around the bar and see who's there.
Okay. As she looks around the bar to see who's there, we're going to assume that the rest of the party has made their way down. You happen to be the last person to get down here. And you see that they've all kind of gathered at one of these sort of longer tables with stools and stuff, and they're all just kind of sitting around. Doesn't appear to be too much chatting going on just yet. A couple of them look like they're still, kind of waking up, maybe a bit groggy. They appear to have healed from, any injuries they might have sustained the night before. But it's still earlier in the day. And you're catching them kind of at a quiet moment.
She's gonna go ahead and insinuate herself into the group and say, I almost died, but we work together as a group, yeah? So I think what we should do is, make some more money, but, I haven't been here for a while. I don't know this town, and I would like to get your thoughts, but ultimately I'm gonna go over to the skills hall and talk to Samara, whether you company me or not.
Well, honestly, after what I saw last night, I think I'd like to take a normal job like that. It sounds much more preferable than finding another weird looking thing. I need a little bit of a break between weird looking things, I think. So I'm in.
Adventure can find you anywhere.
Well, Vanessa was she was like, you know what? It's easier to get a bounty than it is to dig up dirty roots in the swamp somewhere, and and spooky child face and zap you and almost make you die. I think that's pretty cool. If you just go and just get like runaway brigand and bring them back, bop them on the head and do it. I know you're capable. Yeah.
Mortal skin may be paler, but their hearts are just as dark.
Like he said.
Trying to floss.
Like he said. Are you with me?
Yes.
Sounds like a bit of fun.
Yeah. Goblin lady with me. She put sheet liniment on me and make me feel better for some reason. It stinks to high heaven. We're gonna have to make some work on that. But, straight.
Well, I can scent it any way you like.
We're gonna work on the smell because I think we can sell it. I promise.
The stronger the
think-
smell, the better the cure.
You say that with your mouth, but my face says it smells terrible.
I take the compliment.
Love it. You quiet wizard over there that threw things and didn't be effective, but it was cool anyway. What say you?
What? I'm like busy just pushing food around my plate. It doesn't look appetizing. What?
Well, you heard me. I know you did. You heard me. I mean, you with us, yes?
Yeah, sure.
Cool. Tiny
Is
mushroom man?
So Eldon is visibly shaken from last night. He's sitting there packing his pipe, smoking it very shakily, and he's looking at the food on his plate, and he kind of picks up the cheese and he's sniffing it with his little nose, kind of very curiously, and he looks over. He said, "We almost died as well in the swamp. Let's do something safer for now."
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you right now, there's no guarantees on safe, okay? Almost dying is cool. You got that out of the way. Let's almost die again.
I'm fine with almost dying.
Almost, but not quite, yeah.
Hopefully not from each other.
I wouldn't.
Fair.
Although we might want to pick up some supplies in between picking up our next job and going on the next job, just to make sure, we're a little less likely to die.
I do love shopping.
Well, I can't guarantee you dying, I can guarantee I'll try to help. And that's the only thing, because I don't know you from Adam's house cat or any of you. But I will say this. We ought to make a pledge together that we make sure that we do our best not to make sure all of us almost die, okay?
I'm in.
I can try. I don't know. I don't have any healing spells with me.
The Whisper watches over
I
me,
learned some last
and
night.
thus you all.
That's terrible. You might want to work on that. But what I can say is I don't know any of you, and I can't trust any of your motives. But all I can say is that I will do my best not to, stab you in the back.
Do I not inspire trust?
Well, you,
really don't
Mr.
know.
Mr.
It's
Silver
the
Face
whole-
with nothing and a super tall and crazy voice like that, yeah, you totally make me think you're trustworthy. Super trustworthy. No, you scared me. You scared me most definitely.
We can be untrustworthy together.
Sure. But just make sure that we are untrustworthy to make sure that none of us die, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sure.
absolutely, yes.
Okay?
Well,
Just make sure that none of our motives are even obtuse and weird and sketchy and borderline. That at the bottom, at the end of the day and the beginning of the morning, you make sure I live.
We live.
I think
All
we
right,
live
fine.
is a
Let's get some
good
money, yeah?
agreement.
Okay.
I
I
Together.
think the
believe
we live thing is agreeable.
the elf wanted to get supplies.
Yes, yes. The other elf.
Then I believe everyone should do that first, and then meet back here. Is this acceptable?
I guess
Well,
so. I mean, we could
sure.
all go together. It's more fun to see what's there. Plus, we got that one credit note. We can't really tear it up into pieces and then go shopping separately.
I have preparations I must make.
I have
Use the note
preparations
however you
too,
wish.
It's
and.
me, and I'd like to slip Luca 2 silvers if I can.
Luca will slip them back.
Oh no!
And just to note, I took my breakfast in my room before I came down here, just so I didn't have to remove my mask.
All
And
right.
then my other question is, since I've already ordered breakfast, would I know how much that costs, like a meal here?
Yeah, essentially, it's going to be about 2 silvers for the meal.
Okay. So I'm gonna try to also slip 2 silvers into Finestra's pouch or pocket or hand, whichever she seems to be paying the most attention to,
Okay.
because she bought me drinks the other night. So
Yeah.
Listen, little set. And she's going to touch on the head and say, listen, I'm going to take your money, but it's not necessary, okay? All right? But I'm going to gracefully take your money and put it in my pocket, okay? But don't make a habit of that, okay?
noted. I'll try to pay back in other ways. I like to keep things balanced.
All right. That's nice. All right. And Finesse is going to say, I'm going to have a walkabout. I just want to see what's out in the town and see what people got to say. You guys go shop. I'm not interested in herbs and whatnot. I just want to see what's going on. And eventually, we should reconnoiter to the middle of town before we go out to see Samara. I really feel like we should see Samara together. But, you know, if you if you feel some type of way or otherwise, I'm gonna go without you after half past the middle of the day.
Middle of the day. Yeah, it's pretty early, so that's plenty of time to shop. And you said the middle of town is where you're gonna wait for us?
I'm just gonna walk straight out the door, and you can see me half past middle of the day. If not, I'm going without you. I am like easiest to find because I'm super fabulous.
All right. So, if I understand things correctly, a couple of you have things that you want to buy. Finestra wants to walk about town for a bit, and then it seems like Luca had something that he wanted to do as well. So let's go ahead and start, Mario, with Luca. What did you have in mind for Luca as everyone else is going to do the things that they want to do before seeing Samara?
So what Luca's going to do is he's going to head back to his room. He's going to take off the mask, the robes, his 5-inch heeled boots. He's going to look himself in the mirror with his actual, his bald head and his blue eyes, and he's going to sigh loudly and say, "Oh, I hate this so much." And then he's going to put in his colored contacts. He's going to reach green. He's going to reach for a red wig. He's going to put on normal clothing, and he's going to hide all of his Luca shit, in the room where no one can find it. And then he's going to try to sneak out of the inn. He's going to roll stealth to try to sneak out without anyone noticing. Okay. And he's going to go try to find information on Samara under disguise. He's going to use his disguise kit to make a disguise for himself.
Wait, so I'm actually taller than you then?
Yeah, you are. I should note, he's going to put on 2-inch heels now. So now he's 6. What was that before? I was 6'4". I'm 6'1" now.
My height. Okay.
Okay. All right then. So, first of all, let's do a roll on your disguise kit and see how well you're pulling this off.
Now, a disguise kit is proficiency and int.
I don't know for sure, but I'm gonna say it's probably more of a performance type thing, so a charisma based.
It is.
I think.
Yeah.
I think it is. Yeah.
So,
is it deception?
we could do deception. Deception would be fine.
Okay. 15.
15. Okay, now give me your stealth roll for attempting to sneak out.
Well, I rolled a 1, so I'm going to use one of my lucky charges to reroll.
Okay.
That's better. I got a 15. Again.
15. Okay. So, Luca descends the stairs, and you've made yourself up with this red wig, the different sized heels, and as you're leaving, there's really no one after everyone else had left from your party. There's no one else remaining down here except for Olin. And as you're coming down the stairwell, you kind of like pause and sort of peek around, and you see that his back is turned, and he appears to be kind of like reaching over to pick up like this box of something. You can't really tell what's in there, but when he bends over, you just kind of like make a beeline for the door, and you don't think that he noticed you on your way out at all. So, in terms of getting information about Samara, what do you have in mind?
Well, so Samar is the leader of the Bleeders.
Yes, the captain of the Bleeders.
Okay, so is there a barracks where the Bleeders...
They're stationed at the Guild Hall. That's where they operate out of. The Guild Hall is kind of like, again, this sort of larger building within the town, and it's, like I said, a town hall, place for the town to come together and meet if they need to. But in addition to that, there's also like a jail in there, and there's a place for the city guard to operate out of. It just so happens that once again, the city guard, the army, things like that, they're away with Lord Colburn. So this mercenary force was left behind in their stead, and they completely operate out of the guild hall.
Okay, so the first thing that he's going to try to do is he's going to try to find some of their paperwork. Maybe if they have notices on boards of like recruitment, perhaps. And he's going to try to look for something like that, so he can forge a notice of him being a new recruit. Basically, he's going to try to create fake documents to show that he's a new member of the Bleeders.
Okay, all right. So in terms of like finding documentation like that, go ahead and start with an investigation roll.
Okay, I got a 7 on my investigation.
A 7. So you'll find some kind of bills posted by the Bleeders, out and about around town. You'll find another one in kind of like some more notice boards that relates to this brigand, this escaped brigand. But in terms of like official documentation, you're coming up short, and there's really nothing. And as you're kind of like going about town, I say town, it's really a village. It is kind of smaller. In terms of like the number of Bleeders that you are seeing out and about, you think that it's probably a very kind of smaller unit, so it would be hard to kind of like insinuate yourself into there, because Samara is probably the person who would have met you and taken you on and authorized that. So just kind of as you're out and about doing your investigation, that's kind of what you come up with. You think it would be really hard to infiltrate them and pull that off.
Okay, well
but as you're kind of going out and about town, I'll assume that you might strike up conversations with the locals. Is that plausible?
Oh, yeah.
All right. And you'll get into a bit of a conversation with one or two here or there, kind of asking about the bleeders, and the gist of what they tell you, will be that, they're not too bad. They're not like oppressive. No one's noticed anything shady going on. But there do seem to be some fears that the size of their number is not really enough to keep the peace if anything significant were to happen. So you kind of know that some locals fear the fact that Lord Colburn and the primary defense forces are away. So while you don't really get to insinuate yourself into the bleeders, you do discover that information. So it wasn't completely wasted, a waste of your time.
Okay. Would it be possible instead then to try to if I scope out the guild hall, are there people going in and out and like cleaning it? Like, do they have servants?
As you go to the guild hall, it is a dark gray building. It's made of stone. It is a 2-story building, and there are a couple of the bleeders posted outside. Now, I think I mentioned this last time, but the bleeders, essentially, they're all wearing, armor, probably chainmail, scale mail, something like that. And essentially, they're wearing these tunics over their armor that are red. They'll carry shields, they'll have swords. On their shields, they've got like these wooden shields with the kind of metal boss in the middle of it, and they're just kind of like red. So, it's kind of like this, crimson sort of blood-colored red. And there are a couple of them posted outside of the guild hall. Regarding people coming in and out, you don't really notice like servants coming in and out, but you'll see, what appear to be kind of like, noble person or a wealthier kind of merchant or something like that. They'll come out, carrying some kind of documentation. Looks like they're doing some sort of official business in there. So people are going in and out, but you don't notice like, you don't really notice like servants or anything like that.
Okay, the people who are coming in and out and have official documentation, what do they look like? Do they look like merchants or craftspeople?
There's one that you would assume is a noble lady, a noble woman. She comes out, with some documentation, and then you will also see, people who appear to be merchants. More merchants than royalty or nobility is what I mean to say.
Okay, I'm gonna try to as one of the merchants is walking down, I'm going to try to find a place that's fairly isolated. I'm going to try to casually walk up and bump him on accident. I'm going to, upon bumping into him, I'll be like, "Oh, terribly sorry, sir, terribly sorry." And I'm going to move to like smooth his cloak, and as I do so, I want to roll sleight of hand to try to pickpocket his documentation.
Okay, all right. So we've got 2 rolls on that one. First one is your deception, deception followed by sleight of hand, obviously.
So deception was a 13. Sleight of hand is a natural 1, so I think I'm going to use my second lucky.
Okay.
Because I am rolling so many ones. That's a 14 plus 4, so 18 on the sleight of hand. So I think I said 13 and 18.
13 and 18. Okay. All right. So you bump into this merchant. This merchant is, kind of wearing these green and kind of dark gray robes. And you bump into him and kind of knock him back a little bit. And, he's kind of taken aback for a moment, looks offended. And then you immediately kind of profusely begin apologizing and sort of straightening him out. And he's like, it's okay, think nothing of it. And you manage to just kind of like grab the documentation as you bumped into him. And, he had stuffed it in a fold of his robe and doesn't appear to notice you've taken it. Right.
Okay.
Watch where you're going from now on.
Oh, yes. Sorry so much, sir.
All right. Okay. What do you do after that?
What does the documentation say on it?
This is like a writ of taxation. You can tell that he's like, paying, some taxes for the business that he conducts. It is, an official document, and it does have the signature of Samara on it,
Does it have the guy's name on it?
Sure. Give me a name.
Sidel?
Sidel, sure.
Okay. I'll say Sidel Shorthalt. I don't know. I will approach. What did the guy look like?
Okay, so he was wearing these kind of like dark gray and green robes. Kind of an older gentleman, not completely elderly, but he had kind of like a full-on gray beard, kind of pudgy. Bit of lines in his face, wrinkles, crow's feet, things like that.
Okay. I'm going to walk up to the front gate, approaching the guard, and I am going to say, terribly sorry, and I'm going to show them the writ.
Okay. All right. So
And
you approach one of the two guards, and you produce this writ, say you're terribly sorry, and he'll look at you and how can I help you with that?
My father was just here, and it turns out there was a misfiling of the papers. It's not really a big deal. I can get in there, fix it, get out. No one has to know. It'll be fine.
All right. So a mistake with your documentation.
With the payment.
All right. Well, if you have business here, go on inside.
Thank you.
All right.
And I'll walk past him.
Okay, so you go within the guild hall, and as I mentioned before, it's kind of like made out of this dark gray, older kind of stone, 2 stories. You walk in there, and immediately you kind of like come into this area that appears to be kind of like a, this is kind of like the meeting space. You can tell it's a larger room. There's plenty of, kind of like, pew-like or bench-like seating within here. There's an area that serves as kind of like a stage or platform or something like that. And then there is kind of like a set of double doors at the back of the room that, you could, go out of. Right now, they're currently open. You don't really see any guards in here or anything like that in this particular area. And as you're looking down into the guild hall, you see that there, are kind of like doors on each side of the hall.
So, just a real quick question. Exactly what do we need to find Samara for?
You were just going to Samara because she had posted a notice saying that there was an escaped brigand and that had been spotted outside of town, and you don't really know much more than that other than, basically if you're interested, come see Samara. You can assume that she would be hiring you to try to go capture the brigand. Why she can't do it, why others of the bleeders can't do it, you don't really know, but that's why you were coming here.
Okay, then Luca's going to be trying to make his way towards basically wherever he thinks her office might be, and try to sneak into it.
Okay. All right then. So you'll head back into that hall type area. Go ahead and give me a stealth roll.
19.
19. Okie dokie.
Or actually, sorry, I forgot something.
Okay.
20.
20. Okay. All right. So you begin going down this hall, and you see, several rooms, and there are, different clerks and what have you in here, and there is kind of like one larger room towards the back. And as you're kind of like sneaking down this hall, you peer in there and you see kind of like this larger room that has, lots of not lots. It has bookshelves on the wall. It has kind of like a nicer carpet, laid upon the floor. And there is a large kind of like wooden desk within there. And sitting behind the desk is a woman. You're looking at her, and her skin is pretty pale. You've heard that she was a half orc, possibly a half elf or something like that, and you're seeing a bit of all of those features. Her hair is kind of like black and kind of like pulled back, pleated. She's wearing like a plate mail armor with still the same kind of like red tunic over it, the scarlet kind of tunic over it. As you're looking at the features of her face, you can tell that she does have kind of like some slight tusk that come up, over her lips, but she also has some very kind of like pointy elvish ears as well. And it's just kind of like this odd mixture of features, kind of like somewhat human, somewhat elvish, somewhat orcish, kind of like all within there. And probably the most striking thing out of all of those is you're kind of like looking at her, and light's kind of like bleeding in from the window and kind of catching her eyes, and you can tell that the irises are like this very kind of like blood red color. Now, beyond that, as you're looking in, while this is sort of a larger room, its only function is, for kind of like these ledger books and, this desk, and, she's just kind of operating out of here. It would be, you think, you would be pretty conspicuous if you were to walk in here, because it's really just her. There's no way out. It's, brightly lit from sunlight outside.
Is there a place nearby where I can wait to see if she leaves? That isn't like a good hiding place. Can I look for a good hiding place to wait for her to leave?
Sure. You could continue to hide. Maybe you find a room that's not being occupied right now. And high or low?
High.
High. All right. You wait for a while, and she never gets up to leave, and, you could tell when you were kind of like looking in there, it appears as though she was kind of like busy working on some kind of, ledger. You saw kind of like several sacks of something sitting on the desk. You could assume, maybe coinage, is kind of what it is.
Okay. If he can't, damn. Is there any other like interesting buildings or rooms or doors around that?
I mean, again, this is kind of like a town hall. It's kind of like your city hall. You just imagine there are various different offices. I don't have like an entire layout or anything like that. This is legitimately just a public building, and people, come and do stuff like that within here. You're looking around. You don't see anything shady offhand or initially or anything like that. It's 2 stories. You continue on down the hall, and you'll find like a flight of stairs that goes up. You'll find a flight of stairs that goes down as well. But in terms of anything that looks like suspicious or it looks like a kind of governmental building in a medieval setting. So people appear to be doing their jobs.
All right. Well, since I can't find anything suspicious and I can't get into her desk, which is what I was here for, Luca will turn around and head out. Okay.
All right. Now let's kick it over to Fenestra real quick. What was Fenestra trying to do in this time?
Fenestra was trying to maybe walk about and talk to local people to find out information, but ultimately she was gonna go to the guild hall and probably do what Luca did, and or whatever. She would ultimately, just try to find out information about the town to exploit a weakness.
Exploit a weakness? Okay. As she's going about and talking to people, we won't roleplay all of those interactions or anything, but I'm assuming since she's making a point to gather information, specifically weakness, you'll probably have some of the same conversations about, the town guards and, about Lord Colburn being away and things like that. And you'll hear kind of like some of the same fears, speaking about the fact that, a lot of people don't think that the bleeders are enough to really protect the town. Sure, they're keeping the peace within the palisades, but they don't venture outside of the town. There are brigands on the road. You'll hear people complaining about having their stuff taken on the road by bandits and stuff like that. You'll hear things about animal attacks, outside of the city. You'll hear something about the blacksmith's boy who went missing weeks ago was recently found in, a stream, claw marks all over the body, things like that. So you'll just hear various bits of information kind of like that, But, in terms of exploiting a weakness, a lot of it will come back to some of the people fear that the bleeders aren't enough, to keep the peace. If anything big happens.
So she would probably wait until the middle of the day. If nobody comes, she's going to go to the guild. And then, in the meantime, she'll just sit back, I guess she'll pull out a flute and pay, sit on the corner and try and make some money.
Okay. All right, then. So she's kind of on the corner to make some money performing. Was that with your background feature? Do you have something where you can perform and collect money, stuff like that?
Well, I could totally do a gambling game too.
Yeah. No, I think there's what's your background for Finestra?
My background is entertainer and Charlotte.
Hold on.
So I could totally do a 3-card Monty or a crap. Or I could play an instrument, All
right, let me get turned to the backgrounds real quick. Now, you kind of cut out on me a little bit. I want to make sure you said your background is entertainer?
Yes, I got entertainer as a bard and charlatan.
Okay, so you are a bard, therefore you're an entertainer, but your background is actually charlatan.
Sure,
okay. All right, so in terms of doing that, you think that probably you excel kind of like at games of chance or something like that? You were saying you could do some gambling to...
Yes, she's got marked cards and weighted dice.
Okay. All right, then. Why don't you give me a roll with your gambling tools, whatever you're using in your attempts to gamble, and let me know what you got.
Natural 20.
Okay,
Nice.
So tell me what you think this gambling looks like. So what would Finestra be trying to do? Just paint a scene for us so we understand what's going on.
Oh, she would just she would jiggle and wiggle and come on, try your luck, and drag people in. And because she's exotic and foreign, she would just play to that, and she would let a couple of rounds go by where they win, but ultimately she would bait them in to pay more money.
Okay.
And then take all their money.
All right, yeah. So essentially, she finds somewhere, to kind of set herself up and attract attention, but not attention from the guards or anything like that. And
No.
she's able to pull, kind of some sailors in and pull some of the townsfolk in or whatever. And ultimately, she will walk away with 13 extra gold. A lot of these people aren't really playing with gold pieces. They'll play with silver or copper, and you're just kind of taking what you get. But at the end of the day, after spending a couple hours of doing that, because it was earlier in the day and you guys were going to meet at midday, she'll walk away with about 13 extra gold. So.
Okay. And then she'll make her way to the middle of town and wait for the time she said and go to the guild. If nobody comes, that's fine. If they do, then okay.
Okay. All right, then. Now, I think everybody else was going to Wild Wonders Emporium. Is that correct?
Or
Sounds
wherever
good.
to shop, I have a list of things to get.
Have a list of things to get. Okay, so you all go to Wild Wonders Emporium. It also is a 2-story building, not made out of stone. This one's made out of wood. It's a bit weathered. It's a little closer to kind of like the mall, the kind of like sea. Still within the palisades of the city or whatever, but you can tell that it catches a lot of stuff that comes off of this sea. And as you walk in, to this, building, you open the wooden door and there's a little bell above it that will kind of like ding as you go in. And as you go in there, you see that the first floor is stocked with a lot of stuff. This appears to be just kind of like a general store that has just about any kind of mundane thing you could imagine. And as you're walking around within here, some of you will kind of be looking around, and it looks like the shop is completely not attended to at all whatsoever. But after a bit of just kind of like being in here, you will notice that a shorter woman will kind of like emerge from kind of behind one of the shelves. And as you look at her, she is a gnome. And her hair is like black. It's braided, kind of like these braids that kind of go back on each side. And she is wearing this green and yellow dress. Her skin is a little darker. And as she's looking at you, you're just kind of looking at her. She's got this sort of round form, and she looks at you. Welcome to Wild Wonders. How can I help you today?
We got a note of credit from Nerzel, and we were not hoping to spend it all, as we have a few others who are involved with that earning, but we would like to see what we can get off of our lists here with it.
A note of credit, you say? Could I see that?
Yeah, who stuffed that in their pocket? I know we all wrote it down, but who actually had it on them?
I'm not sure, but I would assume that since some of you were heading directly to Wild Wonders, that you probably would have sorted that out. So we could assume that Kimmin has it. That would be fine, unless anybody objects to that.
Nobody else want it?
I only say Finestra had it, but gave it to Kimmin.
Thank you.
All right, so you hand it over, and she'll kind of like reach up with these, kind of like pudgy little fingers, and she takes it and she looks at it, pulls it away, brings it back much closer to her face, kind of squints, and all right, Nerzel said that you could have 100 credit, and we will work that out later. So so what's on your list? What are you trying to buy from us today?
Well, I'm looking for a pouch of about 5 silver pieces, traveler's clothes, calligrapher's kit, herbalism kit, tent, whetstone, and a sack.
All right.
So 1 copper piece sack.
Okay, so now I know that we talked about the fact that many of you wanted to do some shopping, and I told you to kind of like come up with a list of things that you wanted, just so we could expedite that. So we won't kind of like role play every single item that you're buying and transaction and all of that stuff. But I will say, most of the common stuff that you had on your list, things that can be found in the player's handbook that you found prices for, you will be able to find those within here. There are even kind of like some simple weapons that are in here. There's also kind of like some lighter armors as well. Nothing like too fancy or anything, but just, they stock a few things that, people always want to buy knives or daggers or, things like that. So they do stock, kind of some simple weaponry and things like that. Did anyone have anything on their list that you were kind of like not sure about, like in terms of price?
Yeah, I'd like to buy some spells.
Buy some spells. Okay, all right.
Or a spell, or I don't know how much they are.
Okay, all right. So you're inquiring about spells in here right now, and
yes.
The woman will kind of like look up at you, and I'm afraid that we do not carry anything like that in here. These are all just fairly, mundane things. No magic here.
Do you know where I can find some?
Well, perhaps you could see someone at the Temple of Damaris. They might be able to help you with some spells. I believe there is a cleric there that you could talk to.
Is there anywhere else that's not a temple?
Not a temple. Well, if it's not a temple that you seek, I mean, you could always perhaps go see one of the viziers at the Castle Antremoor. They are a little more knowledgeable in the arcane.
Okay, thank you. Put that down.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
Yeah, one thing Eldon kind of is looking for, he kind of wanders up and down the aisles and he finds what looks like, you know, the Dothraki Arak, where it's like a big curved blade?
Like a scythe.
Yeah, like a sickle, kind of like a
Sickle.
large
Yeah, it's pretty much a sickle. Yeah.
But he wants it, basically to function like a scimitar. So you find something that's maybe I don't know, maybe one of the sailors has brought it in from overseas. It looks kind of exotic, and he's very interested in that.
Okay. All right. So I would say that it's, you know, entirely plausible that someone could have brought in something like that. You know, for Eldon, it would very much, you know, function like a scimitar. You know, you can tell, you know, it's not quite a scimitar proper. It's also not quite a sickle proper, but it's, you know, something, you know, that kind of marries the two forms together, and is somewhat pleasing to Eldon. Catches his eye. You know.
So that, I mean, scimitar would cost 25 gold if you can take that from the credit.
Okay. All right. Any?
With curiosity, and I kind of shows it to Kemen and says, would we be able to purchase this?
Probably. I just used my own money, so I didn't take any of the credit. So you could go ahead, and I think you can have my credit and yours combined would be about 25 gold's worth, right? Roughly.
Okay, so you should have all, you know, kind of like come up with the prices. I don't want to take the time to
Yeah,
look at
I
that
marked
right now.
all my prices off of my own gold and silver and coppers.
Right. So if you wanted to take it from your own money, that's fine. I'm not sure how your group
But
wants to deal with the credit.
If you want to use my part of the credit, I can put it towards your purchase. So I don't really need anything else.
Well, I would be most gracious.
What is 100 divided by 6?
I think he can just afford it on his own by taking his currency. He won't be left with much, but he can spend his own money for it. If we just want to leave the credit as is.
Well, what we could do is we could take your credit's worth and my credit's worth, and
Which
put
is like
towards
33.
that, and then whatever's left over can go out of your own money.
Or we can use the credit to buy stuff that benefits everyone. Like healing potions are 50 gold. If we just want to buy 2 of those, just a thought, instead of dividing up the credit between everyone.
Fair.
That's
I'll just pay it out of my
still
own
about
cash.
33's worth of the credit for his and mine combined.
Yeah. Well, and then to just answer that question so we can figure out what's going on with it exactly real quick. I'm assuming that your party, you know, even though we didn't do it in RP, I'm assuming that your party would have discussed what's going on with the credit. So you probably would have had, you know, the suggestion, should we just buy, you know, a couple of healing potions in case we need it? Do we want to divvy this up? Just very quickly, each of you weigh in. Don't take too much time, but just, you know, weigh in as to whether or not you're okay with that idea, or if you had like another idea you wanted to pitch to the party real quick. Even though you're not all here together, we can assume that happened. So, Mario, Luca would have made that suggestion, buying a couple of healing potions.
Yeah, but he would have done it all raspy like this.
Right. All right. What about Estorel, Anna?
Potions, though.
No, that's a good idea. She would
have been okay with that. What about Fenestra, Christy?
But now to be like, you know what? I can get my own potion. It's all good. Do what you will.
Okay.
I didn't come with you. I'd be okay without you, but do what you will. Yeah.
Okay. And then Elizabeth, what would Trunk have said about the potions or the credit?
Trunk supports the 2-potion plan.
Okay. Set.
Potion plan.
The potion plan would have resulted in 2 potions, so Kevin would have been like, I don't know. I'd say divvy, but it's up to you guys. If the majority rules, the majority rules.
Okay. And then David?
Absolutely, 2 potions. Let's divvy them up. Yeah, Eldon's all for that.
We can figure out who's carrying him later if we head towards combat.
Okay. All right. So it wasn't 100% consensus, but the majority did go for 2 potions, so we'll assume that you decided to do that. And as you're shopping within there, you'll ask if they have something like that, and, the lady who's speaking with you, yes, we carry those. Let me grab some of those for you. She'll go, to kind of an area, and you'll see that there's a shelf with, kind of like different, vials and stuff like that on it. And then she'll take out these kind of like pearlescent, sort of like, milky, white, or vials filled with this kind of like milky white substance. And, while healing potions are a magical item, that is one that's a little more common, within my world. And you've probably seen these before. You might not have ever had one before, possibly, but you've probably seen or know of the existence of, this type of healing magic, essentially, you'll spend a little time within there doing your shopping. So whatever basic items you wanted, like I said, they would have had it. Just subtract the gold from your currency. Make sure you're making note of that. Add whatever items you needed to your inventory, and we'll handle it that way. Now, while you are all here within the shop, is there anything else you would have wanted to do, Anna?
Nope. I forgot to look at armor.
You wanted to look at armor. Is there anything in particular you're looking for?
Well, I can wear medium, and I didn't think to look at it while we were on break. But it just occurred to me that I could probably maybe think about shopping for it in the future after this next gig, because I only have so much gold left.
Yeah. Well, we'll say that they carry up to scale mail within here. Scale mail would be 50. I said they carry up to scale mail. Scale mail would be 50 gold.
50.
Chainmail would be 50 gold.
Okay.
Hide would be 10 gold.
Yeah, so I'll have to wait until I get another job or 2.
Okay, all right. So you just kind of like take a look at it,
Yeah, just looking at it to think about it.
Sure. Okay. All right. Well, you do that, and you know that they have some kind of like medium armors in here, scale mail, chainmail. And you make plans for getting that possibly on your next job. So,
Kevin's staring at the armor like Wayne's World. You will be mine. Oh yes, you will be.
All right, Elizabeth, was there anything else you would have wanted to do within the shop?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So I wasn't sure what a kitchen knife would run me. Just like a really basic kitchen knife.
Yeah.
Kitchen knife. Not listed in PHP.
It's not listed in there, I don't think.
Like, I don't know if it's like 2 copper or like a silver or 2 or... I think a dagger was like a gold, but I mean,
yeah,
she doesn't need like...
It's not a dagger, yeah, so...
Maybe like a cast iron skillet.
They have a cooking set in here. I forget what it's called. It's not called a cooking set, but it's like a mess kit. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
I have a mess kit.
Oh no!
It came with my explorer's pack.
Yeah.
This can only end well.
And an entire mess kit is only 2 silver pieces, so I don't know. Maybe let's assume that you could get a just kind of like very basic, not going to be useful for combat, kind of knife.
Yeah, no,
Is
no.
that what you're looking for? You could probably get that for, maybe 8 copper or something like that.
All right, 8 copper, and I'll pull it out. Next was she's going to sort of nudge the shopkeeper and see if she can, if there's any of the local nip, like 2 bottles of whatever their local shine or that sort of variant. It's like small.
Okay.
Small.
And she will certainly produce some of that for you. She'll go back over near to where she got the healing potions from. And you're just kind of like looking for a moonshine is essentially what you want?
Yeah, whatever the locals, still in the woods somewhere.
Yeah. She'll find you kind of like a cheap, sort of liquor of some sort, and tell you that she can give you that for a silver piece, essentially.
Okay, so 1 silver noted, and a jar of you said there were sheep in this town, that was
Yes,
an industry.
It's part of the industry. Yes.
So some sort of like sheep tallow / lanolin, like a jar.
Sure. Okay, we'll go for
I need more liniment.
Yeah, 5 copper pieces on that. You'll get a jar of that.
Okay, sheep. 5 copper. Okay, that'll do me.
All right.
Oh, I did want to see if there was any like old ladies sort of sitting around gossiping and seeing if I could get in on that action.
Okay. All right then. I'm sure that
Like, has Timmy fallen down the well? Has someone had a really exciting affair? That kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm assuming that you'll probably just strike up a conversation with the little lady that's in here right now. She's not kind of like an old lady, but she's not really young. She's probably like a middle age gnomish woman. But you will catch some gossip about the blacksmith's boy that I'd mentioned earlier to Christy. How they had just found him at the stream. He had been mauled by something. So you heard a bit about that. You also hear from her that she heard from someone who heard from someone who heard from a farmer that they spotted a green dragon in the woods.
Really big or small or?
Well,
who knows?
Yeah, who knows? A dragon's a dragon, So it's,
any direction at all?
Yeah, well, primarily there's a lot of like woods and fields and things like that outside of town. But she will, tell you to the north. There's kind of like this huge swath of like forest that just goes on and on and on. So to the north of the town. But yeah, other than the bit about the kid and the little bit of a rumor about the dragon, if you talk with her long enough, I'm sure that she'll say things about the militia as well, and about the town being unattended and stuff like that. But that's about it. That's what you.
Does she mention? Sorry, does she mention the name of the blacksmith's boy?
Darren.
Darren, thank you.
Yes. Make note of that because I'll forget it.
I am.
Okay. Anything else?
I needed 2 more arrows. I never retrieved mine from the swamp.
Okay, I'm sure you could buy those within here. Just subtract the appropriate coinage for it.
Oh, while Pinesha is performing, she wants to cast a ritual.
Okay. All right. So,
She wants to cast a ritual. It'll take about 10 minutes.
Yeah, so sometime after she does her performance and gambling and stuff like that, she'll go spend her 10 minutes to cast Unseen Servant, is what it was?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, just make note of that. What's the duration on your Unseen Servant?
Unseen Servant is 1 hour.
Okay, all right. So, from this point, noonish, you've got Unseen Servant for an hour. All right.
He can attack. Concentration. and he can't attack. He can do.
Okay, so pause for just a second. I heard you beginning to say that he can attack, and then everything just froze on my end for a bit.
He cannot. He cannot attack.
Okay, he cannot attack. Okay, yeah.
He
Just
has
helpful-
one hit point, and
Okay.
it is concentration.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so you've got him for an hour from this point. Now, what we're going to do is we'll go ahead and take about a 10 or 5-minute break, and then we'll come back in about 5 minutes, and we'll pick up with you all meeting at the guild hall, if that's what everybody was going to do. Okay, so you'll meet after break at the guild hall. All be collected there to go in and speak with Samar. Okay.
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 So-
I will note before I meet back with everyone, I'm gonna go back, switch back into normal.
Sure.
And then meet with them.
Not red hair.
We don't want ginger Luca, okay? We don't know ginger Luca.
All right.
You prefer silver mask, purple robe, Luca?
All right. Let's take a 5-minute break. We'll meet back, and you all will be at the guild hall when we resume. So, before we took our break, I had mentioned that you had all kind of gone and done these things. Luca tried to do a little reconnaissance. Finestra did some gambling and also kind of like put some feelers out around the town about things that were going on, and cast this ritual unseen servant. And then the rest of the party had gone to Wild Wonders Emporium and picked up some supplies. And while they were there, Trunk spoke with the proprietor of the establishment and got a little bit of information as well. And then kind of like Finestra had told everyone, that they should meet around noon at the guild hall. So you kind of all collectively come there and meet up. I'm assuming Finestra gets there first. The rest of the party probably gets there second, and then Luca will end up, being the last person to arrive. So you're all collected outside of the guild hall. Have anything you want to say to one another before you go inside? What do you want to do from this point?
Did I finish the ritual?
You were able to cast the ritual. Yeah, so
It's about time, Kevin. Hold my thing.
Who's
Get
pretty
it
hardy
together.
and can
Let's go.
carry a
We have to wait
potion?
for the others to arrive.
all right, so you've cast this unseen servant, and Kevin, and you give him your things. What kind of stuff do you hand him?
I'm just
Hand
gonna
it.
unload my burden, my backpack, all my stuff onto him, and then I'm gonna make sure that he holds the parasol over me because hot, and I'm a drow, and I'm not used to this thing. Hold this, please. And so basically, you see, just a bundle of crap and a parasol over following me.
Okay, all right.
It's about time, Kevin.
Yeah, so Trunk and Eldon and Astrel and Kimmin, when you all return, you will see Finestra outside of the guild hall, and there is this parasol that is just kind of like floating above her, and then there is her backpack also just kind of like suspended in midair as well, kind of floating next to her.
Here they come, Kevin. Be good. Shut your mouth.
This is about the point where Luca will come as well and see the same thing. So, all right. It is midday in Antremoor. For those of you who have not been here yet, as I mentioned to others earlier, the guild hall is kind of like this 2-story stone building. There are a couple of the bleeders positioned outside of it. So you see these guards, kind of wearing scale mail, this red scarlet tunic, carrying this, round shield with a metal boss, and the shield is red, and they, have their swords at their sides. And they're just kind of like standing there. The day is pleasant. You hear the sounds of the gulls overhead. Slight breeze coming in off the maw, and not too many clouds in the sky. The town of Antremoor or the village of Antremoor is, carrying about its business. Wagons pass by, carts pass by in the city. People are going here and there, and that's sort of the scene of where you're at right now. What is it you wish to do?
I have communed with the Whisperer. I believe this woman is trustworthy. Let us speak with her.
She can be trustworthy all as she wants, but does she have coin to pay us all? I mean, I'm not doing anything for free.
We will not know until we speak to her.
I think that most people. I think most people post jobs.
Where is Venerable Monk and Mushroom Man and the other elf?
Yeah, I mean,
we're here.
We're here. We're standing here.
You are quiet. You super sneaky. You super sneaky than me.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, let's go in and ask her for the job. I just start walking in, trying to look for. I have no idea where to go or what she looks like, so I'm just wandering in.
Okay.
Yeah, Truck's going in like she completely belongs. She's like, do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you all approach the guild hall, there are two guards standing out front, and one of them looks at everyone and what is your business here?
We have work with Samara. She is expecting us.
Wait, what? She is?
What? Okay. Yes, you told me. Be quiet, elf. You're crazy. Yes, we are guests.
All right. You need to speak with Samara. What work is it? I'll send word.
Thank you.
And you see that this particular one. Hold on just a second, Christy. You see that when he's asking, he is a little bit suspicious. You can tell that he is a little unnerved by these things just kind of like floating in midair near Fenestra. So
super fabulous, right?
What work do you have with her? I'll send word.
We are super fabulous adventurers that is going to totally wreck that brigand and bring him back and get some money, and then hopefully we have opportunities for business ventures later in future. But we have to prove ourselves. But we are super awesome, okay? Do you not see the wonders that are before you?
All right.
Look at this mushroom man. He's awesome. Look at that.
All right.
Hello.
He will kind of scan your party, again, coming back to the things that are floating, and he'll, kind of lean over towards the other guard who's there and just kind of motion back towards the building. And the guard will be gone for a bit. Is there anything you wish to say to the one who's kind of posted out here with you as you're standing here with him?
I would like to do a persuasion to make sure that we get seen in front of Samara, that we mean business and that we're capable and all that, that we're interested in her bounty.
Okay, all right, make a persuasion roll.
19.
Okay.
Plus 2, so 21.
All right. So you begin saying, kind of some of the similar things, talking about the merits.
No, I'm sorry, it's plus 6. I was looking at perception.
Okay. So you begin talking about the merits of your party and, try to get him to take you seriously. And, he looks at you, kind of again, focusing on these things floating and then looking at everyone else. And, but he looks at you and says, I've sent him. He's taking word to Samara. If she'll see you, you'll be permitted to.
Okay.
Is there
Okay,
waiting
Kevin,
room
get
music?
outside.
What
Go
did you say?
outside, Kevin. You're crowding me. Go away. Put the umbrella down. I'm inside. Be on your job.
So you command Kevin to put everything down? Is that what you said? And...
No, I just command him to go outside, put the parasol down, but he can hold.
You're all outside right now anyway. They kind of like stopped you at. If I didn't make that clear, they
okay.
stopped you before you went
So
into. The
I
guild
just
hall.
want him to go to maybe the right or left of me, and just put the parasol down and just hold my thing.
Okay, all right then. So it does that. So after a few moments, you're having this bit of a conversation with the guard that's posted there. The other one returns and looks at the guard who sent him in, and Samara will see them. And they'll just kind of like stand to the side and allow you to enter the guild hall. When you go into the guild hall, you see much the same as I spoke to Mario about Luca earlier. When you come in there, it's a larger kind of building. You can tell this is sort of like the town hall type area with, just kind of like all this bench seating, platform. At the back of the room, there's a set of open double doors. You can see there's a hall going down. But when you come in here, kind of like almost immediately, there's this, rather imposing presence as you walk in. I mean, you have enough room to come inside, but it is this woman who you assume is Samara. Now, I described her to Mario for Luca earlier, but again, she's this half-orc woman, also some elven human features mixed in there. About the best I can do on size is just think Brienne of Tarth, kind of metagaming. She's this very large figure wearing plate mail, tunic, has a long sword, or a sword on her side. And then as you come in, you will notice that her skin is quite pale, her hair is black and pulled back, and bits of tusk, bits of pointy ear. And as you look at her again, you see that her eyes are just kind of like this, scarlet, blood red kind of color. They tell me you're here for the brigand.
Yes.
How do you think you can help with this?
We think
we can capture him, bring him back, beat him, interrogate him, maybe assassinate him, whatever you need.
Whatever you're looking for, really.
I just want money. Seriously, we're really stupid good. We went into the woods and we saw this OP lightning bug. I almost died. It had a child skull. We brought it and we had we do the things. We do the things. So, you want us to go bring him back? We can do it. You want us to, we can do it. If you want us to tickle him with feathers, we can do it. Just pay us.
I don't really have feathers, but we could find something, I think.
Okay. All right. As you are, talking, you can, let's see, what's your, I think I wrote everybody's passive perception down. Just give me a second.
11.
I did not. Okay.
11.
I want to get that real quick. I'm going to ask you all one by one because I want to make sure nothing changed from last game as well. So, Luca's AC, is that still 18?
Yes, that's still 18.
Okay.
Beast.
And then what's his passive perception?
His passive perception is 13. I also have his passive investigation insight, if you'd like it.
Okay. Go ahead.
Passive insight is 15. Passive investigation is 11.
Passive investigation is 11. And then the passive perception is 13 or 15. What did you say?
13 for perception, 15 for insight.
Okay. 15 and 13. Okay. Fenestra's AC, is that still 14?
Yeah.
Okay, and then what's her passive perception?
Passive perception is 14.
14? Okay. And then we can go ahead and do the passive insight.
But it's daytime, so I'm at disadvantage.
Okay. What's the passive investigation?
Passive investigation?
If-
I don't have passive investigation, but my investigation is +2.
So that'll be 12.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Kimmon's AC still 15?
15 armor class, 11 passive perception, and I don't have investigation.
So you got nothing on investigation? All right.
Yeah, I didn't take that one.
That'll be
RJ,
10.
I'm at disadvantage in daytime when it comes to investigation or perception.
Okay, all right. Thanks for letting me know. All right, Eldon's AC, is that still 16?
That's right.
Okay. Passive perception is?
14.
Passive investigation is?
13.
All right, Trunk's AC still 15?
Yep.
Okay.
Passive perception is 12,
Passive investigation?
11, and insight is 14.
And then Astarel's AC is still 10?
Yep.
All right.
Yeep.
Passive perception?
Squishy. 11,
11. Passive investigation?
15.
15. Okay, all right then. So...
Oh, and passive insight is 13.
No idea how to get the passive
So-
insight, because I do have insight.
Eldon...
+1 for insight.
It's 10 plus your insight.
Yeah. So...
Okay, so I have 11 for insight and perception. Thank
Okay.
you.
So Eldon and Fenestra and Luca... well, not Fenestra, because she's a bit distracted. But Eldon and Luca, as you know, Fenestra is talking and Kimmon's chiming in. You can see that it appears almost as though Samara begins losing interest at some point. Like her eyes just kind of like drift to the side as talk about feathers and things like that. Starts happening, and you think you kind of like see her, just sigh a bit. As that's going on. And then once, Fenestra kind of finishes up with that and, Kimmon chimes in a bit. All right, well, I have heard a bit about what happened in the swamp last night. So clearly you're not entirely incapable. I'm going to level with you. What I'm asking you to do could be quite dangerous. Now, as far as I know, you shouldn't encounter anything unnatural, but you will be outside of the safeguard of the city and not under my protection. You will be in the wilderness, and you will be pursuing a dangerous man. He's killed one of my guards. He had been imprisoned for murder and banditry. And I'm almost certain would not hesitate to slit any of your throats. So I want you to know that...
super sexy.
So I want you to know that if you agree to take this on, it could mean your lives.
Just the one?
Just the one, yeah.
Yeah, just the one dude. Is there
Does he
more?
work with other people?
All right, so...
Like posse?
All right, so Trunk, comes in with just the one, and then Astarel, follows up with, does he work with other people? Yes, he is known to work with a gang. They operate on the trade routes. They've killed merchants. They've killed farmers. We were able to capture who we believe is the leader of this gang, and he was to be executed. But he killed a guard and escaped, presumably with help from members of his gang. How many they number, I know not. But
Can I make an insight check? I want to make sure she's telling everything.
sure.
Luca's going
balls.
to
8.
All right, so pause on that. Luca's gonna what?
Lucas says, "He has escaped the grave once. It will not happen again."
All right.
You know not how many, but 1, 5, 15, 20.
Again, I could not tell you. I am not from Antremoor, and I've only been hired to protect the village. We won't operate outside of the palisades. To do so would leave the village unguarded, and we are not many in number.
Yeah, we heard, you guys, you need to step your game up, okay? And we're here to help you, all right?
All right. Well, she looks at Finestra. We're doing what we can, and I do appreciate it if you take this on. And I would reward you as handsomely as I can.
Sure.
If you can apprehend Aelin, so this is the first time she's mentioned his name. If you can apprehend Aelin, I would pay you 350 gold.
That seems a little steep considering he been murdered somebody and did all that crazy, terrible things. You might want to give us a little more for apprehending.
I'm afraid I can't spare more than that.
Not even for some of his friends?
Now, for his friends, yes, I could. If
Sure.
Do they have to be alive?
That's right. Venerable Monk comes in handy because she knows more than us, right? She knows what's up. Yeah.
no,
If we bring them all in, yeah.
I can tell you that as far as Aelin is concerned, he's already been sentenced to die. So, dead, alive, I care not.
Oh, cool.
Just bring him in if you can.
Assassination complete.
Now, anyone that Aelin might be working with, I would like to see them receive proper justice. So my preferences would be for you to bring them in alive, so that I can see justice is properly served.
Well,
And-
in my culture, it's best to just eliminate threat altogether. But we'll bring them in, sure.
Yes, please do that. And for anyone else who is aiding or abetting or working with Aelin, I would pay you 50 gold per bandit.
50 gold. How about 75 and we call it even?
50's fine.
No, please, you guys are ruining things.
All right, you
Let
can.
her try to haggle.
It's good. 55, let's go.
All right.
I was fine with you haggling.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. All right. So you all begin to have this conversation in front of Samara about being, good with the 50 gold and haggling and whatnot, and some members are shooting looks to other members and what have you, and those are my terms. Bring in Aelin, dead or alive. Again, I care not. And I will pay you 350 gold. If he's working with anyone else,
Okay.
bring them in alive.
Okay. Yes, but I do have one request. I need a writ of passage saying that we are on authority from Samara of the Believers. If you can write on a piece of leather with your signature in your seal, in case somebody has some problem with what we do, if you could just write it down with your signature and hand seal that we are on official business, that'd be super cool.
I
I'm gonna
can.
insight check you.
Me?
It also
Yeah.
it would be good because we
You keep
got
emphasizing with the signature. It's
we
just
tried to
weird.
come in at night. We had a little bit of trouble coming in at night, so
Go ahead.
be helpful
Okay.
for the door.
Oh my god.
You're welcome.
10.
All right. So
I got 15 plus my deception of 4.
okay. All right. So Kimmin chimes in with we had a bit of a problem coming in last night after it was dark or whatever, and Samara will look at Finestra and look at Kimmin and I can provide you with something official.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, it's appreciated.
Just in case somebody wants to, question what we're doing out in the woods. I just want to be safe, I'm a
Certainly.
foreigner in this strange land, and I just want to be official,
All right. It is reasonable.
Same here.
All right. And
Thank
with
you.
that, she'll, please wait here
Did
and I
she-
will return with the document. And she'll leave from the kind of like great room that you're in right now. She'll walk down the hall. Luca will notice that she goes down the hall and cuts into the office where her desk was, where he had seen her working earlier. And then after a few minutes, she'll return with a document, and she will hand it to Fenestra. Now, as she hands it, she's kind of like holding it with both hands, and she kind of like shakes it off, and you can tell like some kind of like powder, falls off of it. And when Fenestra looks at it, you'll see that the ink is still, very, very wet, on it. But she had kind of like sprinkled a bit of powder on it to try to help with that. But Fenestra knows that she probably doesn't want to fold this up just yet. Samara,
Kevin, grab this from Mr. Meadows and hold this, and make sure it does not crease, and make sure powder dry. Thanks.
Okay.
And he's gonna walk in and grab all the stuff with
Okay.
the parasol and everything.
All right. As that happens, both Luca and Eldon will, again, kind of note a look on Samara's face, and she appears to, be taken a bit by surprise as this piece of paper just kind of like floats away from, Fenestra, and, she doesn't say anything, but you can tell that she's a little wary that magic is somehow being used in her presence. But anyway, now I should give you more particulars for this.
Exactly.
Yes. Now I know you're not from Antremoor. I've heard this. You're going to be traveling outside the palisades of the city. The Scratch Woods are approximately 4 miles outside of the city. How far Aelin and perhaps his cohorts might be within the Scratch Woods, I don't know. But you'll be traveling at least 4 miles. The Scratch Woods continue to go on for another 10 miles beyond that. So you should provision yourselves for the journey. Regarding Aelin, as I've mentioned, he is a murderer, and again, killed one of my own. And I wish to see him dead. Whether by your hands or my own, does not matter. But bring me proof of his death, if you slay him. And once more, just to be clear, anyone else, I would prefer you bring them in alive, so that I may meet justice to them. Do you have any questions?
Do we know which direction the Scratchwoods are from town?
Oh, I didn't say it, but she would have told you to the southeast, about 4 miles to the southeast of town.
Okay. So my other question, or only question at this point, would be, just because we're bringing them in alive, I mean, does it matter if they're a little lighter than when, before we caught up to them? Like, if they have a little
I
less
take your
when they're brought
meaning,
in?
if I take your meaning, and these are indeed outlaws, bandits, brigands, what have you, they are operating outside of the law. And anything that they possess is not really their possession. They've probably stolen it from someone else.
I'll bet
Any
they're
money?
all kidding.
Any money
Sounds good.
that they possess is blood money.
So they basically have no real right to it. Got it. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. We
No.
will get on that.
If I could make a recommendation, you still have hours left of daylight. I would use that. Try not to be in the woods at night, if you can help it.
Yeah, I think we learned that last night, that they're pretty shady
That's the
out
most
there.
terrible advice of me. Let's go. Kevin, get my things. And she's gonna walk out. Thanks for the paper. I will make sure we take care of the care. And we're gonna go ahead and take care of this problem for you. And we have more conversation when we done.
No, before you leave, though,
Yeah?
I'm afraid you have me at a disadvantage. Who are you?
Oh, crap.
Oh,
Pardon.
who are we? Well, you know that remains to be seen until we come back. We will prove ourselves, and then we will give you our names. But right now, we have to show ourselves as worthy for the, this mounting. All things are fair and whatnot.
I understand. Your group is not named. In that case, your names.
First of all, I just met these people like yesterday, and you want us to come up with names all of a sudden? You get out of here, okay? I just know that we're capable, and we did some things in your town, and then we said, collectively we're
All
going
right.
to do some things.
So she'll
give
catch.
us a moment, all right?
She'll catch on to what you're saying rather quickly, and then she'll just get everyone's, proper names or whatever. Is there anyone who would not give their name?
I am Helen Riel Goodname.
All right. Anyone else give a false name?
Me to meet you. The pleasure to meet you.
I'm debating whether or not to give my family's name. I do give it. I give it.
All right. And when you do that, you'll notice that she takes note of the name and nods. It seems like she recognized it.
Helen Riel
Probably.
Goodname, yes.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Then I
just
assume you give your.
normal name.
What's that?
Luca.
Okay. So I call it
Which I think
Luca.
is actually the first time I've said my name in front of anyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if
I
I
don't
should do that
think
either.
Luca introduced himself like the entire first session.
Same.
Okay. All
I
right.
have.
Vanessa would have been incessant. I'm Vanessa. But
All right. And then
Samara, I'm Helen Riel Goodname.
Set
Your
Kimmin.
name.
Set Kimmin. All right, guys, stop. Set Kimmin had said, or you had said something with Kimmin, and I didn't catch what it was. So I want to get that real quick.
Oh, I just gave the name. She just gave their full name.
Okay, so you give the full name, and then
Because I've already sent letters and things as of the night before.
Sure,
It would be
okay.
weird to give another one just in case.
gotcha. Okay, all right. Trunk. Does Trunk give their name?
She sees the fun and says Susan.
Susan. Okay. And then
I'm by Susan.
what about Eldon?
Not Karen.
I'm by Susan. My best.
He's kind of looking at everyone else, and between
Trunk
puffs
winks.
of his, we are Sarah, and then
Okay.
he says between puffs of his pipe,
All right. So
he's kind of looking over at Trunk for approval.
gotcha.
Yes, high five, Sarah.
She just has a little twinkle in her eye.
All right.
She's gonna high five him. She's gonna high five him. Yes, Sarah.
So you
That's
can't.
right. You tell him.
So you can't see Luca's face at all, obviously. But if you could, you would see him have the weirdest fucking look on his face. As he is just looking around at who he has chosen to surround himself with, possibly for a split second having a semblance of second thoughts. But
Who are
he's
these
just
lunatics I've thrown in with?
All right. So this bit of inane exchange goes on where some divulge their names, others make a game out of not divulging their entire name. A couple of people are confused. Some of you may or may not have actually told anyone who you are. So it's a bit and at this point, you can tell Samara is a little bit annoyed. You can see that she kind of picks up on more than maybe your average person would. She seems to be a bit of a sharp person. And then, ultimately she just kind of ushers, everyone out of the guild hall, with I wish you best of luck and safe travels. Bring me Aelin.
For his head.
All right.
See ya.
So, as we leave, how many days of provisions will we need to find Aelin? Or
Okay.
at least where Aelin...
The woods are 4 hours away. It shouldn't be that long.
The woods are 4 hours away, is right. You don't know how far you have to go within the woods. She told you, I think, that it's another, 14 miles or something. Beyond
4
that,
miles away.
it's 4 miles away from the town. But she told me that there's a large expanse of woods beyond, just the kind of like the edge of the forest. So you don't know how far you need to go in. You would think that maybe you want to have a few days, just to be safe at least.
I have some berries and can make some more if you want to eat those for sustenance.
Oh, we could pick up some food from, the market before we... we got some rations. I mean, I've got a mess kit so I can cook.
If we have provisions, we should leave before the sun sets and darkness is upon us. Kevin, you take the trail. Make sure we are not seen and that we find our enemy before they find us.
Our
Kevin,
berries
you
are-
hear that,
Probably
right?
want to go
Okay,
after dark.
what your problem is that after all footsteps, you sweep everything behind us and make sure no footsteps, okay?
Okay, well, there's that option, but also, since most of us can see in the dark, we just need to help guide those of you who can't, and if we took them at nighttime, they might be at a disadvantage.
We have to
Yeah,
find
but
them first.
But we could also come
Yeah,
across
sure.
monsters,
Oh.
which could complicate things.
We definitely want rations before we go, then, because we want to make sure we can recover as best as possible in the event that we meet one during the day.
Are we having
My
this
d-
conversation in front of Samara?
No, I assume that you've all
Let's
gone
get out of
outside.
here.
Yeah, from this point.
As we're wandering off,
Yeah, you're having
Yeah,
this
we're
conversation
wandering
before you
into
leave
town, I
town.
assume.
my berries can sustain us all. You only need one.
Thank you, Eldon. That's why I like you, little mushroom man. Give me a hit of that pipe. Look,
Okay,
puff
then.
off half, okay?
He shares the pipe with you.
Thank you.
You see he's kind of been shaken up from earlier. And he turns to Luca and says, "Our encounter in the moorlands, I dreamt something last night. Something about that girl." And he waves his hand, and you see from underneath and surrounding him these small, looks like insects form up, and they create almost like the pixels of a picture, and then it turns to color, and you see that a young girl's face, and it's being eaten by bugs. It's kind of horrifying.
Now, just real quick, David, what are you doing to produce that effect? What is Eldon doing?
He casts minor illusion.
Okay.
Just the effect is what he's doing. So
Sure.
it's just a picture, and he shows what we dreamt this last night. It could be a sign for something more, something for all of us.
An ill omen. Such things are not unusual when you encounter spirits of the dead.
But we vanquished it. We put it to rest. So maybe it is a good sign.
A sign of things to come. The Whisperer tells me that I am to walk in the darkness, find the creatures, slay them, and that you are to help me. Perhaps these visions are just the gods showing us the path we must walk.
Well, the path looks like we are to find this Aelin. Let us leave, if we're able to.
I thought we were
Yes,
still
Sarah, let us leave.
Come on, Sarah, let's go.
All right.
I'm late for the boss battle.
Now, real quick, I don't want to do any more shopping, but we can assume that your characters will stop for provisions if you need anything. And I can tell you that the rations for 1 day's worth will be 5 silver pieces. So just make note of how many rations you would have bought. You know, you would just kind of stop by Wild Wonders. You saw the provisions there earlier. You didn't get them for whatever reason. You didn't know how far you would be traveling or whatever. So you swing back by, you buy rations if you wanted them once more, 5 silver. I will note that unless you have kind of like the Goodberry spell, when Eldon mentions feeding everyone berries, and that like 1 berry can sustain you, it probably seems a bit unlikely for most of you, and you may look on him in his little form and think, okay, well maybe you can eat 1 berry and be happy, but probably not me. So unless you were to like push that further and ask, your characters might have been, just sort of puzzled about that. That being said, you did just see
The master would have been too busy yelling at Kevin.
Yeah. But you did just see him, cast this, illusion or whatever, so you know that that he does wield some forms of magics. Now, after you take your rations, or pick up your rations, is there anything else that you think you would have needed, or have we accomplished all the shopping and things like that you needed to do before leaving town?
Let's go.
I got everything.
Okay, all right.
I'm going.
In that case, you leave town, and you will head out of town through, a set of gates built within the palisades that are open. There are a couple of guards posted outside the gates. Now, this is kind of like on the opposite side of the palisades from where you had kind of exited and re-entered the village last night. You will be leaving Antremoor, traveling kind of like on this trade road. And essentially, you had a bit more conversation with Samara in which, she kind of told you roughly how to get there. And I'm assuming Set, Kimmin being a ranger and just having kind of some idea of what's going on around here, especially knowing that they are particularly interested in cartography and things like that. You probably have a good lay of the land around here. You might have actually passed, by this thing that they're referring as the Scratch Woods on your way into Antremoor or something like that. So you have a good idea of how to lead the party there. And you are traveling shortly after noon. You will not pass anyone on the trade route as you go into town. You will have to diverge from that and take a line, kind of like across these sort of like grazing fields. You'll pass like hovels, fields of grain as well. You'll see livestock just kind of like out roaming the countryside, things like that. It's just sort of this very kind of like idyllic, farmland that is surrounding Antremoor, and you will travel for a little less, let's see, what's our traveling speed? So you're going 4 miles there. It does not take you. It takes you, at a leisurely pace. Maybe an hour traveling the way that you're traveling. You can certainly get there faster than that if you kind of huff it, and you're being led by a ranger. So, what's that?
I think we would kind of hoof it pretty quick.
Yeah, so you can get there, within a pretty quick amount of time without exhausting yourselves. And essentially what you come to is this kind of like large expanse of forest that is in front of you. It's pretty dense woods. What would you do?
Kevin, give me my things. Go away. Bye.
Kevin's still around?
No, it's after an hour.
Yeah.
I would have told him to give me my stuff and not drop it. You know, like, bye.
Yeah, probably from interacting with Samara and then, getting the provisions and stuff like that. Just, you see the kind of like woodlands in the distance, and Finestra is aware that, Kevin's about to go. So she goes through this, getting her things before it just sort of like dissipates. Now, you go a little further. You're just kind of like standing at the tree line, and I need to know how you want to approach this, what you want to do.
RJ, what time of day is it? Is it still daytime?
Yeah, it's still daytime.
Yeah, it's still very much daytime. This is only... You met at the guild hall, I think at noon is what you all had said. You didn't stay there for very long, just enough to kind of like get the information. You might have been there for a half hour, or something like that. So, by our clock, you might be pushing 2:30, something like that. So you know that you...
I don't know how you surface dwell or deal with this accursed sunshine. It's better, but if we must continue forward, I think I need to give one of you some extra help. And she reaches down on Trump and she says, "Listen, then we'll want you to come in handy." And she's going to give her a bardic inspiration.
Okay.
Out of character, how close are we to where they said the bandits were going to be?
We're at the tree line, so we're not really in the woods yet. I'm thinking we ought to stealth in.
Yeah,
I have mage armor on myself.
Yeah,
I'm thinking out of character. We should take the people who have proficiency in stealth, send them ahead to try to see if we can find them, and then they'll report back. Basically, like maybe put them 10 minutes ahead of the main group, so that they can find the bandits, and then we can come up with a plan of attack. In character, what Luca is going to say is,
Kevin,
Yeah?
let us go ahead and try to find the bandits.
Okay, well, I think we should...
Hey, don't
take
leave the
it
party
good
without
at
me. I'm
sneaking.
pretty quiet too.
He's at least 4 miles in.
So, yeah, he's
Yes.
at least 4 miles in, but maybe we could just lead by about visual line and then have the less stealthy people follow on our heel. So, like, we're not
Yes.
totally separate, but, like, just spaced out just enough that if somebody were to come up behind, the people behind us could alert us, like, give a signal or let us know, and that, like, if just in case they get the jump on us. So, like, maybe make a loose circle. So maybe there's, like, front and 2 in the back, and then 2, like, 1 on either side, kind of like...
If we are found, I can alert the others.
I'm sorry, could you say
I
that again?
think it's a good idea for Luca and Kim to go in, and then me and Chunk make sure Mage and Mushroom Man are okay.
Well, I mean, out of character, I think whoever has stealth should sneak forward. And just, I think it's a good idea to have some people sneaking forward, some people hanging back. Not all the way back, just sightline, like Seth
Yeah.
said. That way we reduce the chance of being found out, and we keep the element of surprise, which would be useful if there's like
So
20
who
of
would
them.
you have?
Well, out of character,
Stealth.
I don't know who has stealth. Luca has stealth.
I have stealth.
I'm not proficient, but
Okay.
I'm +3.
Kind of like this sort of a setup.
I'm not
I'm a
proficient.
bard. I'm tricksy.
I'm not proficient, and I'm not quiet, and I'm not going first. And
Well,
I'm
I assume at the very least Kemen has proficiency. Does Finestra have proficiency?
She got a +4, so yeah, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. Well then, yeah, the 3 of us can sneak ahead. And you said you have a +3 to it, Trunk.
So yeah.
See,
Yeah, I
Maybe
mean-
I'll hang back.
Trunk would
because-
Trunk would like to keep half an eye on Eldon anyway.
Okay.
Okay, well
Still
then you
feels
hang
bad for
back.
bashing
The
in the
3
head.
of us.
And Eldon
The
will
three of
stay
us will sneak.
with the wizard, Astrio.
Okay. All right.
And yeah, you guys just follow enough behind us that you're less likely to be.
I will stay towards the middle between Squishy Mage and little small people because I have affinity to Venerable Monk and Mushroom Man.
Well, if these 2 are the small folk, we'll go smallest. folk because we're pretty.
All right, so
Well, I mean,
because you've said a good bit, so I just want to make sure I understand this correctly. I believe
Right.
that Kimmin and Luca are going to take the vanguard and advance. I think that Finestra is going to split the difference, and then I think everyone else is going to be in the back. Is that
No,
what
Finestra and Trunk are splitting the difference.
Yeah.
Here, and then this would be like Eldon, and here would be Astriel.
Okay, so how
We go,
far
like-
apart are you all, in terms of traveling? So I can envision this a little better.
Like the front and the back. could
Well,
still see.
I know that the mage can keep up with me, but I know that the two short people can't. So I would just kind of
Yeah, we're not.
stay in the middle.
Actually, how far can we see in the woods? Like how?
I can see up to
60.
120 feet in dark.
Yeah.
I
But I'm
got
talking
superior
about
dark vision.
right. But I'm talking about with the trees in the way.
Yeah.
How far can people see with the trees?
It's daytime. I got disadvantage to perception.
Yeah, but I'm asking about everyone else.
Yeah, so as far as everyone else, when you go up to the woods and you begin kind of heading within there, actually before you do that, Kimmin, why don't you give me a survival check?
Okay. Survival. Do I have? I don't get anything extra on that. I just rolled a 2.
Okay, so 2. All right. So as you were kind
don't
of
have proficiency in survival either.
okay, okay, all right. So as a ranger, you don't have proficiency in survival.
No, I
That
took
was
it in stealth, so I was.
Gotcha. Okay. All right
yeah,
then.
I was going for the sneakies.
Yeah, so you're kind of wandering around, not really finding a good place of entry, for the woods. You're looking for tracks, things like that. You find some animal tracks. You don't really see, where humans appear as though they've gone in. Now, before I keep going on with this, is there anybody who is, I don't mean you have a couple of numbers, like bonuses due to, your wisdom or something like that, but is anyone actually proficient in survival? No one is proficient in survival? Okay, alright, so...
Yay!
I'm gonna be honest. I thought the ranger would be.
Yeah.
So
Ranger.
I'm going to assume that,
She's
probably...
still learning.
Yeah, I'm going to assume that probably everyone has had a bit of kind of conversations as far as skill sets go and stuff like that. And I think that Kimmin had been able to lead you into the swamp the night before, so did a good bit better. But they just appear to be kind of looking around, not really finding much, and then finally I think we need to go in here or something like that. And you begin, kind of going into the woods and an area where there are kind of briars and brambles and stuff like that, that are, scratching and cutting into your skin and stuff like that. No significant damage, but boy, it stings. And it's kind of spring and late afternoon, and it's not too terribly hot, but I'm assuming that you're sweating a bit, so it kind of gets into the injuries and stings that much more. And you're just kind of going around for a bit in the woods. Now, in terms of how far you can see in here, the woods are they're not too terribly thick. It's more of undergrowth that's a problem in terms of movement and stuff like that. So if you look behind me, I kind of chose that for a reason, to give you an idea of kind of what you're seeing. So you've got a good bit of sunlight cutting in through the forest. It's not super dense, canopies overhead or anything like that. It's mostly an issue of undergrowth, in terms of moving, but nothing to really prevent you from passing, but it might slow you down a bit, possibly cause injuries depending on what you get into, stuff like that. So, any other questions as you go in there?
Sarah, Susan, you okay?
Just peachy.
Good. All right.
So as you go into this forest, you hear the sounds of insects, and you begin kind of like traveling on in through there. It is spring, so there's been a good bit of rain in Antremoor, and the ground is kind of like soft beneath your feet, and you've just got kind of this sort of like earthy, forest floor scent, just kind of like coming up as you're continuing to walk within there. A rabbit darts out from the brush, and it's just kind of like this, gray hair, and scurries, across your field of vision, and then ducks into a briar, and you just kind of
Cute.
You could try.
No.
Kill it.
If that was your inclination. Yeah. So this, rabbit just kind of like darts across, within your field of vision before disappearing. Fenestra remarks that y'all should kill it, and Estrel seems pretty opposed to that idea. So
Make a nice dinner.
Right? Kill it.
It's a little early.
What is
for
that
dinner.
thing?
We're
A
trying
bug?
to keep it on the down low that we're here, so maybe no unnecessary bloodshed.
yeah,
Did it look like we were the ones that startled it out of the brush, or something else?
yeah, it kind of you think that you did, So, before we go on any further, I know nobody is proficient in survival. You're kind of wandering
I got
around.
+1.
Yeah, right. And some people probably do have some bonuses to it. Nobody being proficient, though, you're kind of like looking around, mostly looking to Kemen. Kemen's not, really finding too much of a trail. So I just want to open this up to the entire party. Is there anything that you think you can do within your skill set to possibly help with this? So if you have any particular abilities or spells or anything like that that you think might be able to help, I'm opening that up to you right now.
Well, I am proficient in insight and stealth, so I think since I know we're looking for bandits, and I know that they would definitely leave a mark in the wood, I'd be searching for signs of that over like trackers.
Okay. All right then. Tell me the skills that you just said.
Insight. And I'm definitely still stealthing. I'm not like waving my arms around, screaming or
Okay.
nothing.
All right. So you're trying to look at. As far as insight goes, that's more for like reading a person. Let me ask this: is there anybody who is proficient in investigation?
Yep.
Okay. All right. And if you'll
I
give me.
would like to, if Astrael looks like she's going to do something, Luca's going to walk up, place his hand upon her shoulder, and says, "The Whisperer guides you." And I'm going to give her guidance, which means on this next skill check, she can add a d4 and add it to her.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you'll make your d20 roll. You'll add your modifiers, and you can add a d4 roll on top of that.
14, and then I can add a d4. 17.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, as everyone is just kind of like wandering around and trying to figure out things, you see that Astrel just kind of like steps out, in front of the group. You were kind of like spread apart, but after this bit of time where you're not really finding, how to make your way through the woods or, anything like that, eventually Astrel just kind of like wanders up with the rest of the group, and you all kind of like come back together, and they just sort of like step forward and begin looking around, and you can tell that, things are turning, and they're, looking at, bits of broken branches and stuff like that. And eventually, as you're just kind of like wandering around the woods, you come, and I'm talking to Astrel, you'll come upon the remnants of a campfire. And as you come upon the remnants of a campfire, in addition to that, you'll just sort of like be spotting around, and you will find bits of gray cloth that are like tied to branches.
Oh my
And
goodness,
then-
you found this already, Astrael. We would have been here forever. Thank goodness you had the wherewithal to find this. You're so super smart.
And then as Astarel is looking for that and pointing out, I found the cloth, I found this remnants of a campfire, you'll look around and you don't think you could really track them so much, but you do see that there are kind of like footprints that are kind of like in the soft earth, sort of around where those bits of cloth were and where the campfire remnants were. So as you're looking at them, you can tell that some are bigger, some are smaller, some are pretty big, but you're not really a tracker or anything like that. You're just kind of pointing these things out. Essentially,
yeah, get Keeman over here. Keeman,
What?
your tracker somewhat. Footprints.
I'm more like I make maps.
Me and Venerable Monk is super useful too.
I kinda-
You're not the only one who's super smart,
Yeah, I don't really hunt things. So you notice my bow shooting and whatnot. I don't really know how to do that. I make maps. I explore places. I just up here stuff.
Yeah.
Have you found something?
Is
It
there
looks like
anyone
a
who's good at tracking? Anyone? No.
I will find our prey. Show me.
I'll give it a try,
There's footprints and a campfire and grey cloth. I
guess we
don't
follow
think
the gray
Dungeon
cloth.
Master, I know I'm not trained in it, but may I make a survival check?
Yeah, so at this point, now
Try to
that
follow this trail.
you've found kind of like something that you can follow, sure, you can make a roll to try to continue to follow.
22.
22?
Damn.
Okay. All right.
Making up for
Thanks,
those ones.
Wisdom.
So, as you're looking, you see these, prints are in the ground, and you are able to follow them. As I mentioned several times, the forest floor is very soft, and you just, you kind of have to take it a little bit slow, but you are able to track these pretty well. You will see bits of cloth, tied, spaced, few hundred feet in between them, and you'll keep going in there. Now, at some point, go ahead.
Sorry, the bits of cloth. Is there a specific rhyme or reason to them? Is it look like they're marking their passage, or does it look like there's some sort of other purpose to them? It
looks like a path is being marked where there's no significant trail.
That's a really obvious way to mark a path. That seems like trap-like.
I feel you, Venerable Monk. It feels like we walk into doom. It's okay. Let's go.
All right, so Trunk weighs in with it feels kind of trap-like, and Finestra's just like, yeah, let's go.
Can I draw my dagger and my mace, having heard this?
You could, yes.
Mm-hmm. I
It just seems a bit obvious.
Yeah, it just seems like you're making a lot of sense there, and I'd like to be ready.
Did I say I had mage armor up?
You did say that you were casting mage armor earlier. I heard that.
Yeah.
Do you want me to provide distraction? With a distraction word?
Ow. If you believe it is an ambush, the group of you stay back. I will follow the trail, and when they attack me, you catch them from behind. Yes?
Okay. Can I stand in the middle in the vanguard? You guys go first.
Well, out of character, what I mean is, I think I should not try stealth and just walk down the trail by myself super obviously. And the first time something jumps out to try to kill me, because it's like, hey, it's just a guy wandering the woods, you guys jump out of the shadows and gank him.
You're gonna spring the
In
trap.
that case, I'd
I'll
like
spring the trap, yeah.
I'd like to stealth
Traps work both
in
ways.
through the woods, sneak through the woods to keep closer to him. But if I could sort of stay hidden, because I know it's not nighttime or anything, so I don't have the moon advantage thing. But
So you're just trying to stealth kind of out to the side of him,
yeah, so I can stay somewhat close to him, so he's not all by himself up front.
Sure. Go ahead and give me a stealth roll.
Okay.
And
Nestor will stay back until she hears something crazy.
I'm going to stay back too.
If I have proficiency, that's not the same as advantage, right?
no, it's not. Yeah. So if you are proficient,
So 8 total.
okay, to make sure, because you had a question
Or
about
six-
proficiency,
no,
just
10
to
total, beg your pardon.
yeah. So you should have 2 from your proficiency, and then you should have
Yeah.
whatever your ability modifier is for that. So 2 plus whatever
Yeah,
your
so-
ability modifier is plus your roll. So that totaled
Yeah,
out
so
to a
that
10.
comes to 10.
Okay, all right.
So I rolled a 4.
All right.
I have a 4 on stealth.
So Kimmin is stealthing out to the side of Luca, kind of trying to, sneak behind trees, from tree to tree, things like that. And then Luca, if I understand correctly, is just following this path, kind of like out in the open, just walking purposefully, not trying to be stealthy or hiding or anything like that, trying to be completely visible, correct?
Yeah, just trying to spring the trap, and that'll provide a distraction for everyone else. I will note, however, I cast guidance on myself and maintain it as I walk down the path.
Okay.
And I'll keep recasting it every time it wears off, just so I have that little bonus to initiative when the fight breaks out.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. We could do cantrips. Can I also use minor illusion to assist myself in seeming hidden or significantly less?
Someone can correct me with a spell, but I think when you cast minor illusion, that just sort of stays in one spot. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It
Okay,
does.
never mind then.
Yeah. So
And it's about this big.
you couldn't really move it with you. Perhaps it could be helpful if you were actually standing still, but you're actively trying to follow Luca. So,
Yeah.
all right. Now, as Luca is traveling forward, you're just kind of like walking down this area, and then it eventually kind of opens up to where the ground is a bit more worn in patches, and you can tell that you're following the footfalls of the people who had gone before you, and not as much brush here. And as you kind of like travel on further in, you're kind of like scanning around, looking for signs of an ambush and stuff like that. Sorry, I'm trying to find your score.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah.
13. Okay. All right. So as you are traveling down, your foot kind of like snags against something, and you almost trip. And as that happens, you kind of like hear like from like within the trees, there's this kind of like this whoosh kind of sound. And as you turn towards it, you see that there's this log with like all these spikes suspended by ropes swinging directly toward you. Now, your AC is 18.
18.
Am I close enough to like push it out of the way by running into it?
Not likely.
Or to push him out of the way?
Not likely. This is he doesn't even make a dexterity for this. This is kind of like an attack roll against him. So
No, it's probably better that way. If it was a dex save, I'd probably way more likely to.
This is my first natural 20 of the night, so essentially.
Wait. I used my last lucky to make you reroll that.
Okay, all right.
Oh, very lucky.
You put those to work today.
Lucky's the best feat. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Okay, I selected it for my wizard character in the game that I actually play in. I love the feat. It comes in very handy. And it just came in handy for you because, you're looking at it and just kind of like, you hear the sound, you hear the swoosh, you're turning, and by the time that you actually see it, there's like a spike coming right for your eyeball, and you just kind of have this moment where time like seems to freeze, a bit, or not freeze, but move much more slowly. And then you were just kind of like able to just kind of like move your head back just enough so that like the edge of the spike that was coming towards your eyeball just catches you on the cheek. It doesn't even do damage, but it just kind of like cuts across your cheek, bleeds a little bit, and you're able to just kind of like get out of the way of it. So
Well, the mask.
It grazes his mask.
oh
Shara
yeah,
has
I
shown
forgot
him the path.
yeah grazes the mask. I forgot you were wearing your veil, so it just kind of comes up a bit.
Oh.
And then as you kind of like get out of the way, it will, swing back down, towards the trees and just kind of like hang loose for a bit. So the rest of you are kind of like a distance away from it. Kimmin, you're the closest. You all observe this, but as you look around, you don't see anyone set to ambush you. There was indeed a trap set for anyone who might follow this, but no ambush.
Is there a chance
Oh my
that-
goodness.
or like we're still on just the outskirts? Can I climb like some trees and try to see if I can get like really high up and look down and see if there's like a break in the canopy anywhere nearby?
Yeah, well,
That
you
might
can.
indicate like a base or something.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you that there's, like I said, if you look at the picture behind me, you'll see that's roughly what you're seeing. There's not really a large canopy or anything like that. There's a good bit of space between trees, so it's not super dense in this area that you're in right now. I will tell you that as you're up there, you can continue following tracks. You don't see things as obviously as obvious as kind of like cloth tied to limbs or anything like that, but you can still follow like the tracks of footprints, humanoid
How much
footprints.
time has passed, RJ?
You all kind of wandered around the woods for quite a while, so I'd say you've been in the forest for a couple of hours probably as you're
Okay.
following this.
I mean, how much time has passed since Luca decided to go on
ahead? Not very long. Yeah, it was probably like 5 minutes or so, kind of like following this very intentional sort of path, which Trunk was correct about, was an intentional kind of like trap to lead people astray. But now that you've followed that, you can tell that this goes on. There are more tracks leading off into the forest, so you can continue following tracks.
But as Finestra and the rest of us are proceeding, we can tell that the trap has been sprung.
Yes,
Oh,
you observed that. You saw it.
goodness, guys!
You see it
Dude,
hanging
Oh my
loosely.
goodness, guys!
Do the gray cloths stop?
Yes.
Is it possible they're no longer in the woods and they might be out on a raid somewhere since it's dusk, and they might have decided to go jump a wagon at night? Like, just as
If that's
dusk is
the case,
falling.
If that's the case, that's even better. We'll be waiting to ambush them back at their camp. Regardless, they would not have trapped this place if it was not something important. We should continue.
Anything can happen in the woods.
Well,
Liz.
stay alert just in case they left some people there, but we might be looking.
Finestra is gonna go
Less
ahead and
people
do
than we
like
think.
sign language, like nobody
They don't
will
know sign
probably
language.
understand what she's trying to tell them, but hopefully they catch on to move ahead, be quiet, and be careful.
Okay.
Yeah, Luke is going to continue going, but now he's going to go a little slower and start rolling perception to try to pick out any more traps.
Okay. All right. So he travels forward a little bit more cautiously. You'll probably travel for another hour or so into the woods following these tracks, which I said are pretty easy to do at this point. Now that you've kind of picked them out, you don't really spot any more traps or anything that looks like it'll trip you up or anything like that. As you travel on a little further, you will get to a point where this path that these tracks that you've been following, they kind of like lead into this area where, as you're looking at it, it very much looks like someone has taken like briars and brambles and things like that and have intentionally stretched them across this expanse. you can see signs of work that has been done here to do that. So it looks like a bit of a blockade that's kind of been put in front of you.
Well, I don't think we should disturb it, but maybe go over it, like climbing trees over it and like.
We know that. Do we know that Eldon is a druid? Like, is that clear to all of us?
What do you think, David?
Sure. I think I've said I worship the old ways. I might have tipped you off before.
Then Luca will motion for Eldon to come up to where he is.
It's your turn to shine, Mushroom Man. Go ahead. Scary Silver Mask Man says, come on.
He comes nearby.
All right.
Can you remove these with your magics?
And put them back when we're through, just so they don't suspect anything in case they are out.
It just looks like, what do I see on the ground there?
All right. So essentially, what's going on is you all were kind of like following these footprints in the forest floor, and it looks like someone is taking kind of like all of this expanse of like brambles and briars and stuff, and kind of like stretched it across, like weaving it within trees and things like that. And it looks like it would be difficult to pass. You might be able to go around it, but then you might also lose, the tracks as well.
I can burn them, but I can't. I don't know if that would help.
Well, if they're not there and they're gonna come back, we don't want them to know we're here. We shouldn't make it look like they're disturbed at all. They might have, made it look like they're going in, but actually come out and then just left the brambles in the way. It's like yet another sprung trap or springable trap.
How tall is it, and does it look climbable?
You're talking about the brambles and briars and stuff like that?
It's like barricade or...
Yeah. I mean, it's not very tall at all. It's a little more deeper than it is tall, so it looks like it would be hard to get over without like planting your feet in it. You could possibly run and jump over it. That might be
how, like in feet, like how tall?
And probably about 2 feet off the ground. And then probably about 5-6 feet deep, something like that.
Oh, I was picturing something like 6 feet high.
No. Sorry. Yeah.
Why don't we just go ahead and climb over it? I mean, if some of us boost the little ones over, I think we'd be okay. Or I can move it, but it's going to be really loud.
Yeah, and it'll also be noticeable if we move it. I think we should just go over it. Or, we're pretty tiny. Is there any way under it? I mean, did they consider that option?
Yeah.
We're all kind of tiny on the tiny side, but
Yeah. Well, as I've said, you could make, if you don't want to remove it permanently and you don't want to do anything that would be loud or attract attention, you could possibly, jump over it. It's possible.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to try that.
I don't think a crowbar in this situation would work. I have a crowbar, but
Set, did you say Kimmon's going to try to jump over it?
Crowbar gives you an advantage towards strength checks, but
Wait, I have a question. With the minor illusion cantrip, if we did make a hole, like just a little enough hole for us to all go through, could I use the cantrip to hold that spot to look like nothing was disturbed?
Possibly, but what's the duration on it? Because you would have an idea of how long that would happen.
It just says cantrip, and then when I read it, it said it continues until I'm distracted or cast another spell, I think.
I think it does have like a minute or 10-minute duration.
Yeah.
Duration 1 minute.
Duration
1 minute.
Yeah. So you know that you could do that, but it wouldn't last very long. And you would continue on traveling in, and you might get distracted by something almost immediately. You have no idea,
Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. Yeah, I'll just jump over it.
Okay, in that case, give me an acrobatics roll and let me know what you got.
Is this a dexterity?
Oh, it's acrobatics? I figured it'd be athletics. That's why I was like, eh.
Slightly better than its acrobatics.
It says dex on acrobatics, so
Yeah, yeah.
dex.
So it'll be a dex.
And if I'm not proficient, do I still just add my modifier?
You just roll d20 and add your dex modifier to it.
Okay, so 12 plus 4, 16.
16. Okay. As everyone is kind of like standing around it, debating it, Kimmin just gets a running start and jumps over it and clears it.
Yay!
Oh wow, that's how we do it? Okay, fine. I'll try.
I
Okay.
did something right.
Make an acrobatics roll.
Oh no.
What was it?
11.
11. Okay. All right.
Luke
Alright.
got a 16 on his.
Okay. Fenestra goes to run over it and then jumps a little too soon and lands into it and kind of like rolls within the briars and takes 4 points of damage as she rolls out of it on the other side. Some of them still clinging to her skin.
Ow, Kevin, where are you? Jesus.
All right. And Mario, I think I heard you say that Luca has a 16 on the roll, correct?
Yeah, 16.
Okay. All right. So there are 3 people across, but Fenestra kind of like landed within the briars as she was attempting to cross it.
Ow.
How's Eldon looking about this?
I don't know, David.
It's as tall as him. He's like 1 inch taller than this barricade.
Yeah, but you've seen like a
So-
4-year-old jump. They can get pretty far.
Ow.
It's not that different.
It looks like we need maybe some tracking as well. So from the people on the other side, you see him hunch down and transform into a wolf.
Nice.
Okay.
So he all his possessions kind of go inside this furry creature, and it kind of looks like him in terms of his hair, and you can see his bright green eyes. So there's kind of some features that remind you of him, but it's definitely a large wolf. And so the wolf paces back and leaps over the briars.
Okay. All right. Give me an acrobatics roll on that.
Okay.
Now, in terms of Asterael and Trunk, none of you have seen him transform into an animal before, but just before your eyes, you know, this small gnomish man, you know, just his, you know, body begins to morph in a way that, you know, I mean, hair, you know, grows from the skin, limbs elongate, you know, his form is larger than it was, you know, and he just completely transforms into a wolf, begins pacing around in front of you. You see his bright green eyes, and it vaguely resembles him, if such a thing is possible, in this wolf form. You can tell it's Eldon, and then he paces and leaps. And what did you get, David?
A 16.
16. All right, and he clears it. Now everybody else on the other side, just all of a sudden, this wolf like darts or jumps across the brambles and lands in your midst. And we'll pause on that for a second. Now, Elizabeth and Anna, what are y'all gonna do?
I'm looking at it, and I'm not very athletic or dexterous, so I'm just kind of looking at it. Am I tall enough to just step over it?
No, definitely not.
Vanessa fell in it. You watched Vanessa fall in it.
I guess I try and jump.
Okay, give me an acrobatics check. Roll.
5.
Okay.
Come with me. Join us in the
I just kind of like
time.
run to it, and I just fall.
Okay.
I trip before I even make it there.
Yeah. So you run, trip, fall across a large part of the swath of these brambles and briars, and as you do that, you sustain 5 points of damage as you fall into them, and then have to extricate yourself from it as they're kind of like clinging to your flesh, and just kind of like ripping out as you're kind of quickly trying to get your body out of it.
Listen, it's not
probably
so bad. After you get it out of the way, we'd learn.
Yeah, and then you probably cause a little bit more damage to yourself, just kind of like panicking, but you're able to get across to the other side. Now, Elizabeth.
Trunk's just gonna kind of use her quarterstaff and try to pole vault.
Okay, all right. Same thing, acrobatics check.
Nice.
Yay! I think it's a 22.
Okay.
22.
22 will do it. So, backs up a little bit, runs forward, plants the staff into the ground, pole vaults over it, leaps to the other side. Now, again, as I mentioned,
That's how you do it.
a wolf did land in your midst. Kimmin and Fenestra and Luca did not see Eldon transform into a wolf, but shortly afterwards, Astarel and Trunk leapt over as well and kind of landed there.
I'm on the
check to
ground
see
as
if there's
Trump
more
flies
wolf-
over my head.
What's that?
I'm just picking things out of me. Like, look, it's okay.
I check to see if more wolves come over it, just because I'm like, wolves are pack hunters. Where'd this come from? I'm looking for more.
Trunk's
So
looking.
since Luca didn't see Eldon turn into a wolf, as soon as Eldon lands in their midst, he immediately reaches down for his dagger and like brandishes it at him. And unless anyone says anything to him, he's probably gonna.
Eldon will probably start like growling at you.
Trunk will immediately interpose.
Okay.
What is this?
Kevin, where are you?
This is Eldon.
What's going on?
I'll start sniffing around.
All right. So,
And looking up at you, you can see his distinctive eyes.
He is a skin changer.
Quite a trick, I'd say.
Oh, okay, so that's Eldon then. It just takes me a little bit to figure that out.
And Eldon will come and sort of rub himself up against you,
Oh,
Kemen.
You
And-
might have
I
wanted
pet
to
him.
warn us.
He'll resheath his dagger back in his boot.
And
I'm
he'll
just
kind
petting
of
the fluffy fur.
he's gonna go down the path a little bit, and look for where these tracks are and start sniffing.
Okay.
And if you can pick up the scent and
Sure.
follow the tracks.
give me a survival roll with your wolf stats now.
Okay.
I have a question. Can you be a wolf?
Say that again.
Yeah, it's a 1/4 hit.
Oh, it is, okay. Never mind.
Perception check to
Something
deal with smell.
I'm thinking of direwolf.
Natural
You
20.
get advantage of
Okay.
checks that rely on smell and hearing.
Blah, blah, blah.
So
All right.
it's a 22.
All right.
Total.
So 22 altogether. Eldon begins to kind of like sniff around in his wolf form. His sense is much keener than they were prior to transforming, and quickly picks up the scent and begins to follow it. And everyone else can see this going on as Eldon begins to kind of like sniff and go further into the forest. And as you continue on, Eldon will definitely spot that kind of like up ahead. You can tell that there's a bit of a clearing, and you smell something in the air. And it may not be something that Eldon is completely familiar with, but this wolf nose kind of picks it up, and it's just kind of like this metallic sort of scent in the air. And if Eldon has ever been exposed to the scent of blood, he registers that. Otherwise it's just kind of like this tinny metallic scent in the air.
Okay. the nice thing about being a wolf is he actually has stealth. So he's going to try and stealthily move through the forest, and he's going to go to the rest of the party and kind of it's hard to communicate. Stand in front of them and kind of move with his head down the path.
I think he wants us to follow him.
I
Either
think
that or
that
he's
cow
got a
wants
tick.
something.
He either wants us to follow him or he's got a tick or a bug or something. I don't know.
Would you like us to follow you?
It's a cow. It's angry. You kill it.
We
All right.
shouldn't follow you.
I don't trust anything.
You see him kind of go into the forest, like hiding.
Oh, okay. He wants
He
us
steps
to
off the
sneak
path a little
around.
bit.
Is this
I
normal
think
for
So
cows?
I will go around to the other side of the path and like kind of mirror him, but stealthing.
Okay, all right. So the two of you give me stealth rolls real quick as you're going forward.
14.
14 and
Nothing.
11. 11 and 14.
Sweat, I'm sorry, real quick. Were we all stealthing?
I'm not stealthing. I'm staying back. I'm
I-
still on the ground.
Only two people told me they were. Go ahead.
Vanessa pulling
I will
spiders
stop
out
this.
of her, and she thinks it's a cow. She thinks Eldon's a
14.
cow.
Okay. All right, so 13 for stealth, 11 for stealth.
I'd like
And
to
then-
fall a little further back, but also stealthing.
Okay,
Like not quite up with Kevin,
stealth
but-
roll.
like within 80 feet.
I'll stay with
Oh.
Astriel.
Okay.
Seven.
What was it? 7. Okay, so within 80 feet, I think is what you said. And then
Yeah.
Finestra is going to stay back with Astarel. All right, so Eldon and Kemen and Luca all begin to stealth forward. And Eldon, you will see this first. You're kind of like taking the vanguard on this. You will see that there's a bit of a camp made, but it's kind of like a real shoddy sort of camp in this clearing. And essentially, there is this canvas roof that has been strung between like all of these trees. And as you're kind of like looking around beneath it, you see that there is a person that is. You see that there is a person that is on watch, and they have a crossbow. And this person is a human male. And by them is this black wolf, just kind of like, sitting on the ground right next to them. And then as you're looking a little bit beyond them to within this campsite, again, you see the kind of canvas strung between trees. And under that, you see the form of this large individual. Now, I'm not sure if Eldon has ever seen a Goliath before, but it stands like heads atop, like a human. You know, like the human figure that you saw. This figure's, a couple of feet taller than it.
His wolf eyes are going wide.
And it is just kind of like skinning this deer that's strung up against a tree. Also within the camp, he sees another figure, smaller figure, and as he spies it, he can tell it's probably a gnomish woman. And then he also spies a figure beyond that, and it appears to be an elvish man. Now, as he's kind of like quickly seeing all of this black wolf that's beside the human just kind of like turns his direction, locks eyes with Eldon, and begins to snarl. And you should roll initiative.
Ruh-roh.
Okay, Astriel, we're gonna give them 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 30 Mississippi, and then we run down there.
Now,
Do we see this?
Am I still keeping people's initiative?
if you don't mind, that would be great.
Yeah, I can totally do that. Just double checking.
Do Finestra and I know what's going on, or are we just sitting there being like, doo-doo-doo?
You won't know anything
Yeah.
for yet, so if Anna and Christy, if y'all will just hang back for a second, it's going to take you a bit to realize what's going on. Trunk, I think, is 80 feet back. is what we had
Oh,
said.
actually, you should totally do a French braid and an updo, and we're gonna lighten up your cheekbones.
Can I,
And we're gonna do all kinds of things.
Hold
Get
on
the
just a
little
second.
extension in the waist.
So-
do like a little lip.
Hold on.
You know,
They're
leave a
having
little
their
boo-boo.
conversation. Can I
I
use
just
my
figured out what
illusion
If
to
all
be-
conversation will pause for a second, let me let you know what's going on. So what I'm going to need at this point is essentially I'm going to need everybody to roll initiative because I need to know when everybody's going to act. Now just hold your numbers because Mario's going to track those for us, and we'll go one by one, and Mario will take down the initiatives. And then in terms of, I can already tell you that no matter what everybody rolls, Luca and Eldon and Kimmin are going to go first because they're like right there and they're immediate, So, we'll figure out what order they go in right there, but they're like right up there. Everybody else is going to kind of be going secondary and tertiary to that. So, let's resolve initiative numbers first. So, Mario, you've got yours. Anna, what's your initiative number?
2.
2.
Oh,
All right.
Squishy Wizard goes last. At least I have my major armor up.
Christy, what's your initiative number?
8.
8.
It's still better than 2.
Elizabeth, what's your initiative number?
16.
16. All right. Set, what's your initiative number?
6.
6. Okay. Eldon, what's your initiative number?
7.
7.
Oh, we're doing so well today, guys.
Whoa!
I would like to note that I picked 80 feet because I can move 80 feet and around and still have an action.
Okay.
You also
Just-
got bardic inspiration.
Isn't that an hour?
No.
Oh,
You
sweet.
use it when you use it.
I thought it.
Okay.
Is that a
You
D6?
use it. It's a D6.
Go.
Okay. All right. So no matter what, Trump will be able to go this round. So they'll be able to go when the other 3 go. Now, in terms of the wolf and the person that's on guard right here, they have a 15. So if you'll just go ahead and just mark 15 for them. Now,
Yeah, I got it.
Now we've got initiative done. Kimmin, I think you were trying to ask, or said I think you were trying to ask something earlier, but I wanted to get initiative resolved. So what was your question?
I know I can't make minor illusion move, but can I cast it in the air so it sends a signal to the rest that that's where we are and things are bad? Like
an
the
arrow.
flare of the
I assume you probably could.
Okay.
That's an assumption.
Kind of need
And-
our backup there.
Yeah. So, but you would do that on your turn. Okay. So, who's first on initiative?
Trunk is first.
Trunk. So even though you're 80 feet away, you're very aware and quick, and you kind of like hear this wolf snarling, and you kind of look to Eldon, but it's not Eldon. You look a little bit beyond Eldon, and you see that there's a black wolf like sitting next to a man, and just immediately it raises up, begins snarling, and you see a moment to take action.
So can I movement, bonus action, and hold an action?
Movement, bonus action, and then you want to hold your action to do what?
Hold an attack
Okay, you got to
until
set
they come in melee.
until they come within melee. Sure.
Yep. Cool. So for Step of the Wind, 1 key point gives me movement for a bonus action, so I can dash as a bonus action. So 40 feet of movement plus 40 feet of movement gets me there.
Okay.
Right.
All right. And then, so that was your movement. That was your bonus action, and then you're standing there, just kind of like waiting. And if anyone advances to you, you're planning on letting them
Yeah,
have
just
it.
right up next to Eldon with the staff.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
Oh.
Who's next?
Next is the enemies.
Okay. All right. So, as the wolf begins to snarl, you see that this human male who hadn't quite noticed you all being there becomes alert and raises his crossbow and yells back toward the camp. Over here, quick! Now, the wolf charges forward at Elden Wolf. Elden Wolf.
The wolf off.
Ooh.
It is a wolf
Does that
off.
mean it gets within range?
It will get within range, so you can take your action before it goes.
I actually have a reaction.
Okay.
So
All right. Hold on just a second, David. Let Trunk take her held action first, as the
Sure.
wolf comes into range.
Well, mine goes off. Mine goes off when it's within 10 feet of me.
Oh, within 10 feet.
Yeah,
Okay.
you hit first.
All right. So what's your reaction then?
So it's called Halo of Spores. And off of the back of the wolf, you see these small mites and what look like particles of maybe like rotting material. And it kind of forms a little cloud as the creature closes within it, and it needs to make a con saving throw.
Con save. All right.
DC 12.
12. Okay. Does anything happen if it makes its saving throw?
No damage.
Okay. All right. So, all of these spores rise up and they kind of drift over towards the black wolf as it's approaching. But you can't really tell what would happen. Tell me what would have happened if it had failed its saving throw, just so I know from this point forward.
1d4 necrotic damage.
Okay, all right. So it would have done damage to it. All right. So it continues charging forward out of this cloud of spores. And then it gets close enough that Trunk sees an opportunity to attack.
To bap it on the nose, I hope. 15?
15. Will strike.
Yay! Okay, so D6 plus a 3. And I would like to use Fury of the Small and add 2 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 5 plus 2, 7 plus 3 is 10.
10 points of damage.
Right on the nose.
All right.
Like this.
All right. So Trunk comes down real hard across the nose, with this, with her staff, invoking the Fury of the Small, and then just kind of clubs its head and just kind of it doesn't go down, but you've kind of dislodged its jaw, knocked teeth out, and it's bleeding profusely from its mouth. So it still attempts to strike, or maybe give me a second.
Oh, sorry. Is it medium or is it, I assume?
It's medium.
Or large? Okay, great.
Okay. All right. As Trunk brings it down across its nose, knocks the teeth loose, dislodges its jaw, blood drips from its mouth. It yelps as much as it can with this broken maw, and then immediately tears away from the attack to run. Now, both. Well, let's see. Eldon, you did a reaction already, right?
I've already used my.
So an opportunity attack that's a reaction, right?
Yeah, that's a reaction, so Elton wouldn't be able to take an
Right.
opportunity. But if me and but I should still be able to because I'm.
You should. Okay, all right. So if y'all were traveling close together, then yeah, you would probably be able to do that. Trunk, I don't think has taken a reaction yet, so Trunk could get an opportunity.
Does holding an action use a reaction?
Yes, it does. When you take the
that becomes a
turn
reaction to
you
someone
use a
else's.
reaction.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
pretty obscure rule actually. A lot of people don't.
Okay. All right, but Mario, Luca sees an opportunity to strike as it's attempting to run.
However, Luca got a 7, so probably.
Okay. All right. So attempted but couldn't. Now, the wolf, darts off away from the camp into the woods, bleeding, yelping. The bandit, human male bandit, has raised its crossbow, levels it, and fires. Okay. All right. Now, Monk, as you ran forward in this, flash of fury, whacking this beast across its snout, dislodging its jaw, sending it running, the figure who had been standing guard levels his crossbow at Trunk, and his aim is true as the bolt is released and just kind of like hits Trunk, strikes Trunk in the abdomen. Trunk now has this crossbow bolt jutting from the abdomen and took 6 points of damage from it.
Ooh.
After that, you hear some sounds. Go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you were asking for who was next in the initiative.
No. You hear sounds from within the camp, which is not too far away. And you can probably see, those of you who are right up close, that the kind of woman gnome and the elven man, they grab their crossbows and level them and release their bolts. The woman striking Eldon for 4 points of damage.
Okay. My AC is different now. It's 13.
Yeah. I got the wolf stats right here.
Cool. And how many points of damage?
What was it? 4 points of damage.
4? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Okay, actually, it's just the gnomish woman attacked with a crossbow. What's the range on that? The elvish man charges forward. 1, 2, 3. Okay. The elvish man charges forward and begins throwing daggers towards your group. All right, Luca. You take 10 points of damage from an extremely well-placed dagger.
Did you crit me again?
That was my second natural 20 of the night. Yeah, sorry.
Your dice want me to die.
Oh, that's
Sorry.
well placed. No more luck.
Yeah. And then
goodness.
Monk will take 4 points of damage.
Trunk?
Oh,
Trunk
yeah.
Monk.
Trunk the Monk. Sorry.
Monk. I love that so much.
And he can only do 2 ranged attacks with his dagger, so that's the last one. So, Trunk, catches this bolt, and then immediately afterwards, this dagger, strikes her in the thigh. Luca, you just caught that center mass, as it struck you. Now, you see, further within there is this larger fellow, but he was busy skinning a deer, and he has to go over, and he's grabbing like this kind of big battle axe, leaned up against a tree.
Jesus.
And then begins making his way over. Doesn't get there in time, however, and it goes on to the next in line of initiative.
That would be Finestra, but she's back, so I don't know how you want to handle it.
Yeah, so they're probably, being that they were more than 80 feet away, Finestra, you can tell that there's like something bad going on ahead. You hear people like screaming, wolves growling, yelping, things like
Do
that.
the makeup and do your highlights. You have that.
I don't want highlights.
You have that nonsense. You have that. Let's go.
Yes.
All right, so I'm assuming Finestra is just going to move like full movement.
Yeah, double dash.
Double dash.
She's gonna dash, and then a bonus action if she can get closer.
Okay, all right. And your movement on the dash is going to be 60 feet, correct?
Right, just for a dash of 60.
Okay.
And then as a bonus action, like a cantrip.
Okay, what cantrip?
Vicious Mockery.
All right, who do you want to target with that?
Well, how far am I?
So let's see. Trunk was 80 feet away. I'm going to assume y'all were probably at least another 30 feet away from that. I'm guessing. Right? Because you were hanging back.
Mockery got a range of 60 feet.
Okay. So if you go forward 60 feet, you should still be able to hit Vicious Mockery.
Okay. Whoever's the closest, I want to say, you are stupid to challenge us.
All right. So you do that, and it's going to fail.
Wisdom saving? Okay.
I already rolled. It was low.
Okay. Okay. Plus my spell. Spell bonus is 8 points of psychic damage.
Okay.
Do I add my spell bonus attack to that?
No. Not to your damage, I don't think.
Okay. So then it's 3 points of psychic damage.
So only 3 points.
And he's at disadvantage at next roll.
Okay, all right. So you charge forward as fast as you can, and then kind of yell this taunt out towards it. You attract his attention, and you can tell he's shaking a bit as you've caught him unawares. Now, who's next?
Next is Eldon.
Eldon, all right. You see an opportunity to do something now.
Okay, is there anyone right in front of us?
There is, within probably 15 feet, there is the human figure who just attacked Trunk with a crossbow.
Okay. The wolf will run up beside it and try and bite him.
Okay, give me an attack roll.
Okay. 15 AC.
Okay, that strikes. Give me damage.
Very small bite. 4 damage.
4 damage? Okay.
However, he grabs it in its maw and tries to tug it down, so it needs a DC 11 strength saving throw or be knocked prone.
Okay, all right. So Eldon charges forward. You can see that it's distracted by Fenestra. There's a bit of an opening. You grab it like right across the calf. Sink your teeth into it. It doesn't go down from that, but wasn't expecting the bite and tug like that, and you snatch it down to the ground and it's knocked prone. All right. Who's next?
You're welcome.
Who's next, Mario?
Next is Kemen.
All right. Kemen, you see all of this stuff going down. What do you do?
I'm sorry, I can't hear that.
Oh, I just said you've observed all of these attacks and counterattacks and what have you.
It's cutting you out right now. Hang on.
Okay.
Okay, try again.
You've observed.
Go down.
You've observed these attacks and counterattacks. You just observed Eldon snatch one of the bandits, pull it to the ground. You observed the wolf just kind of like run away.
Did I see Finn and Astriel show up?
No, not yet.
I haven't turned yet, so I can't show up.
Yeah, you know that Fenestra is a ways back, but she shouted up forward. You think that she'll probably close the distance in the next round or so, and then you haven't really seen Astriel yet. What you do see... But
I know they were together before, right?
Yes.
So I would assume she'd have told her something, so I probably won't do the cantrip thing.
Okay.
So I would like to bonus action Hunter's Mark the Goliath. He looks nasty.
Okay.
And I don't want him getting away because I have this inkling that he's our guy. Because, he's big and scary. And then I would like to cure wounds whoever looks the most pitiful right now on our team, obviously.
Okay.
Probably me, because I'm at 9 hit points now, but I'm all the way back there.
You actually
Yeah.
can't
I did
cast
go up and left her.
spells unless one's a cantrip.
Yeah, so you did
I couldn't hear that.
Hunter's Mark, so you...
Which is
it
a
says
bonus action.
Hunter's Mark.
Yeah, but you can't cast 2 spells unless one is a cantrip.
Oh, I
even if
see.
one's
What's not a
bonus
cantrip?
action. Yeah.
So, okay, so I have to bonus action and then actually attack something.
Okay.
Because it's a spell. So
Alright.
no double backing spells. Okay.
Yeah.
So I will still do the bonus action Hunter's Mark on the Goliath, and then I will probably clobber the crossbowman since he looks like he's prone and viable to being ganked with a mace.
Okay, alright, so you just kind of like charge forward and strike at him on the ground. So, roll with advantage.
The line goes underneath, right? So that's a 9
Only a 9?
to hit.
Okay. Alright, so...
Oh wait, I'm proficient. I am proficient with that, so that comes to an 11.
An 11? Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of charge forward. This bandit's been pulled to the ground. Eldon still has, its leg, his leg in its teeth. And, he's just kind of like flailing around on the ground. And you go to strike at him, and you just kind of like, land your mace like right by its head. And you don't make contact with it. Now,
Okay.
who's next? Astarel?
It is now... No, it's Lucas' turn.
Okay.
Then it'll be Astarel. So, I just wanted to double check. This Grog knockoff looking motherfucker, that's Aelin, right?
I didn't say...
know.
I'm fairly certain that I didn't say this earlier, but I should have told you. Samara would have told you that Aelin is an elf, a wood elf.
Oh.
Well, that changes a lot, so we don't see Aelin on any of
I
these.
did say that you saw an elf.
There's the
The elf was the one that was like
Yeah,
slinging daggers.
Okay, so that changes everything.
He's the one who just like placed a dagger like within your chest,
Okay. Well, you know what? Good. That makes this even better, because what Luke is going to do is he is going to grab his holy symbol. He is going to channel dark magic upon Aelin, and he will say, "He is mine, and no one else's." And I will use my channel divinity to activate Path to the Grave. When Path to the Grave is activated, the next attack he takes, he has vulnerability to, meaning he takes double damage. Now, out of character, I would like for none of you to attack him so that when I use my highest damage spell, it's doubled. In character, you can decide
wouldn't have
whether
heard
you
that.
agree or not.
I wouldn't
He's
have
actually
said
using
that.
he's using thaumaturgy to make his voice triple the normal loudness, and he's yelling, so everyone will be able to hear
Can you
him.
use a spell at the same time, though? Because thaumaturgy.
Yes, because thaumaturgy is a cantrip.
Oh, okay. But I don't know who you're talking about. I'm not there. I can't see anything.
Oh,
But
that's
you
bad.
hear it.
All I hear is him.
He's mine.
That's all.
Now,
I hear.
I can
You got 2 initiatives, so by the time you catch up, you didn't see it.
now thaumaturgy I can use as part of talking, right? Instead of using a bonus action.
I don't know the answer to that question. Because you're casting a cantrip, and I'm assuming that the cantrip is cast on a bonus action, right?
You can't
Okay.
do
Well,
cantrips on both.
if that's the case, can I not do that instead? Because I want to use healing word to heal myself for a little bit, and that be my bonus action.
Okay, all right, sure,
I'll still say it. I just won't make my voice really loud.
sure.
And
Oh,
yeah,
no.
I'm gonna healing word myself for 7. So I regain 7 hit points, and yeah, I've infected him with my path. So
Okay, all right,
that is my turn, and it is now Astrael.
all right.
She didn't hear you then.
All right, Astrael is a ways away. Now,
if I move 30 feet, am I at least 120 feet away from a bad guy?
I think you were about 110 feet away, so yeah, if you move 30 feet, you'll be within striking distance.
Let's see. The only thing I can cast, I will cast Chill Touch. It's a necromancy cantrip. So a big skeletal hand, I'll be like, ooh, that Goliath's big. And so a big skeletal hand will come behind the Goliath, and I need to make an attack roll against it.
Okay. Make an attack roll.
Yes! 24.
24 strikes. Give me damage on that.
So it's 1d8 necrotic. It's my d8. That's my d8. And it cannot heal itself until the end of my next turn if it tries.
Is this the Goliath, did you say?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to Goliath.
So you can add a 1d6 damage to that.
Ooh.
Actually, Hunter's Mark only affects your weapon attacks.
Yeah.
Yours.
Oh, just mine? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so it gets 3 damage, and the hand is clinging to it, and it can't heal itself.
Okay. All right. So this spectral hand comes out, grasps it by the throat or whatever, and
It's kind of like, big ass hand just grabs it.
All right. Okay. There we go. Now I do believe we're back up to the top of the round.
Yeah, and so it's Trunk's turn.
So Trunk, yeah.
Trunk would like to sort of yell out, "Keep the friends alive! Don't forget about the gold!" And, alright, so on the ground in front of Eldon, is that the human?
Yes.
And he's looking real bad?
He's looking pretty rough, yeah.
Yeah, let's wait on that. Let's just go over and give him a bop.
Okay.
On the head. I would like to declare subdual damage is possible with quarterstaff.
Sure, go ahead.
Yay.
All right, and roll with advantage because he's prone.
Oh, that's good, because one of those was a natural one. The other one, however, is 19.
19 will strike. Give me your subdual damage.
Aw. A 1 on the dice. I think that makes it a 4. Yeah.
A 4?
4 damage.
All right. That is good enough as Trunk, kind of like glances over, looks back at what else is going on, can tell that there's a good opportunity to just sort of take this fella out on the ground, just takes the quarterstaff and just bops him, right in the face, and then his lights go out as she does that. So.
Good night.
Who's next?
Enemy's turn now.
Okay.
So
all right then. Now.
Hit me again, I dare you.
And now I die.
What was that, Mario?
I said, crit me again, I dare you. And before he hits me again for like...
Yeah. Alright, so 1, 2...
Yeah, you got more than 6 hit points, dude.
Your luck has run out.
That's true. Right. I am at 17 still.
Eldon, the gnome levels the crossbow at you, releases a bolt, but it just strikes the ground next to you. Doesn't connect at all whatsoever. Now, Luca and Trunk, you're both fairly close to one another, and this bandit figure who had kind of like thrown, or this elvish figure who had like thrown these daggers, was advancing as he was doing it, and as he gets closer, he pulls out a scimitar from behind him, and then it just kind of like flashes in a couple of this blur in front of you as he begins advancing with these attacks towards you. Now, this figure that you're seeing in front of you, kind of like this wiry, elvish-looking guy, long, stringy hair, dirty clothes. You kind of like briefly notice that he's missing a couple of fingers off of his left hand, and then he's just advancing very quickly with this flash of a scimitar. Now, Trunk, find your AC again.
15.
15. All right.
Oh, I should have done patient.
First one hits. Luca, 18.
I should have done patient defense.
Okay.
Oh no.
But I
And then
didn't.
Eldon as well, because you're right there. 2. Okay. All right. Yeah. So essentially, what he does is he steps forward and slashes across Trunk with the scimitar. Comes back towards Luca, but it glances off of his armor, and then swings back around towards Eldon and misses. Comes just a hair shy from striking Eldon. A bit of like tufts of fur just kind of like puff away in the wind as he's that close to striking. But Elizabeth Trunk will now take 7 points of damage as the scimitar goes across her gut.
No.
Trunk's down.
Trunk falls.
Yikes.
Now, the bigger guy, the bigger fella, comes forward. Trunk fell down. That leaves Eldon and Luca. All right. And there's a 5 plus 10 plus. Okay, all right. So Eldon, the big fella, charges forward. Grasping his battle axe in 2 hands. Doesn't say anything. Just moves very quickly. Grunts slightly as he comes down with this axe, and it just plants into the dirt. He pulls it up, and then chunks of sod go flying. He's missed. All right. Now, I think that it's Eldon's turn.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Trunk went down. Okay. Luca's right beside him too, right?
Luca's beside him, yes.
And the elf is the one we kind of came for.
Yes.
So he's gonna try and bite at the elf.
Okay.
No.
And he can certainly do that, but just so you know, the big guy is the one that just tried to take your head off with a battle axe. But also, I guess the other guy had struck, right before with a scimitar as well, and just barely missed. So you do have 2 aggressors that are very close.
They're both there, but I think the elf is going to take the priority.
Okay.
I'll try and bite at him.
Okay.
Okay, that's AC 14.
14?
Yeah.
All right. So, you bite into him, and you just kind of like, he's wearing this, shin guard of, studded leather or whatever, and you bite into, kind of what is basically his shin guard, and, you don't bite through to the flesh or anything.
Okay, so no damage?
No damage.
Okay, and
Anything
then
else?
The spores come off, and he has to make a con save DC 12.
Con save DC 12. Okay, he fails.
Okay, so that's my reaction used, and the Halo of Spores does 1d4 necrotic damage.
Times
3
2.
points of necrotic.
Yeah, that's times 2.
So 6
Really would
points.
have liked that on an inflict wounds.
It's what?
My thing on him makes the next attack that hits him a times 2,
Oh, really?
which is why
Okay.
I didn't want anyone else to hit him.
Sorry. I don't know what your things do.
Yeah, I mean, you all are quite literally not really a team yet. I mean, you are, but you don't know how one another operates or what these things mean, when you shout out random things in combat. And you release these spores, come off your back, and they just kind of like completely surround this elven figure, and, bits of, You can tell, all these little wounds or whatever begin appearing, these lesions within his skin as this ability takes effect. Now, I think that Fenestra is next.
Okay, so
Is that
I
right?
ran up. I'm in the middle,
Yeah,
and
Fenestra
everybody.
was next.
I'm, Eldon's ahead of me, Luca, and Trump, right?
Yes.
I want to run towards the elf.
Okay, all right. So I think you had been 110 feet away. You moved 60 feet. All right. So I don't think you'll be able to get quite up on him unless you take another full action of movement.
No, I just want to use my full movement without a dash. So, my full movement.
Okay, so you want to go the 30 feet. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you won't be right up on him, but you'll be relatively close in terms of like spells or ranged attacks or something like that. So.
And the Goliath is over there too?
Yeah.
And the sniper, I guess.
Yes, is also still there.
So if I move my full movement, is my party member in front of me still or behind me? Or am I with them?
Yeah, you'd be kind of like right up there with them.
Alright, I want to cast Thunder away.
Okay. So you're going to do half movement and then cast Thunder Wave?
Yeah.
Okay, alright. What's your range on that?
It's 15-foot cube.
15-foot cube in front of you?
Yes.
Yeah, you know that wouldn't reach.
Alright, then. Screw it. Dissonant Whispers on the elf.
Okay. Alright, what does that do?
It's a 3d6 psychic damage.
Go ahead and roll that.
Twelve.
12? Alright. Okay, so, you run forward the 30 feet and you kind of all of these whispers, you begin kind of unleashing through the forest, and it kind of surrounds the area up there. And those of you who are around him can tell that he's distressed, kind of begins bleeding from his ears, a bit as that happens. Now, I think that takes us to, was Kimmin next?
Yeah, I was coming.
Alright. Set, what's Kimmin doing?
Well, since I Hunter's marked the Goliath, that kind of makes it my prey. I don't know, am I at a ranged weapon distance from him, though, or am I up close?
I think you had kept yourselves kind of you were away from the rest of them a bit, so I'd say you could make it within... No, because you charged forward and you attempted to strike the one on the ground with a mace. So yes, he's kind of basically right up in your face, essentially. The Goliath is.
Okay, I'd like to use my dagger and try to I'm pretty small. Can I get him in the thigh artery?
I mean, you can strike, but it won't really...
Okay,
yeah.
see if it'll... Okay. And let's see... So I added proficiency last time I used one of my weapons, because I do have proficiencies in my simple weapons.
Uh-huh.
So do I still add that to this one?
Yes.
With the attack?
Yes.
Okay. Natural 20 plus... So 22.
Yeah, you definitely hit.
Okay, cool. So daggers 4. 3.
3, so 6 points of damage because it's going to be double damage.
Okay.
I forgot to do a thing.
So 6, and I don't think it goes beyond that.
Okay.
Or do I add my proficiency bonus to
No,
that?
not to that, but
Okay,
do you have
not to that part, just to the attack. Okay,
Yeah.
so then it's probably just 6 because I don't think I have anything else.
Do you have a strength modifier that
Oh,
would?
and the D6 because of the
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
If it's
So
dagger, you
6
also have your
plus
dex
5
mod.
is 11.
11. Okay.
Yeah, total.
And then Mario was saying you add the dex mod.
Yeah, it's a dagger,
Like-
right?
Yeah. So plus
So-
4, so 11 plus 4 is 15.
Okay.
Because my D6 was a 5, my 4 was a 3, and then my dexterity is plus.
Yeah. So, you charge forward and you do what you were trying to do. You quickly take out your dagger and you rake it across his inner thigh. And as you do that, it is a, critical strike. And, there's kind of like an arterial spray, that coats the ground there. And, it can, averts its eyes towards you, or turns its eyes towards you, excuse me, and just kind of like yells as it, rears back with its, axe. Not doing anything yet, but that's where he is. Now, Luca.
Yes, it's Luca's turn. So I will use Healing Word on Trunk to heal Trunk for 7 because of my Circle of Mortality. It just heals Trunk to the maximum. Actually, no. I'm right next to Trunk, right? So I'm going to use Cure Wounds instead. So Trunk heals for 8, 9, 10, 11, which I don't have to roll for because of my Circle of Mortality. And then, that'll be my turn.
Okay.
Thank you, because I forgot to use bonus action.
All right. And then that's going to take us to Asterel.
Yeah. So I was gonna cast Bane and then didn't realize that it's a warlock spell. So I'm dumb. Can I move so that someone's within 60 feet of me?
You move 30 feet.
It'd be pretty much all of us.
I mean, like that guy. Elf guy.
I think if you've gone 30 feet, you go another 60 feet. Yeah, you're within 60 feet.
So I'm gonna cast Ray of Sickness on the elf guy.
Okay. Is that a strike? Or
It is an attack.
Okay.
Range attack.
Make an attack.
Boom. Ah. That's a 7.
7. Okay. So,
That's another spell I've used.
you rush forward, unleash this ray, but it doesn't strike him,
I've got this, guys! No, I don't. Okay.
Alright. That takes us back up to the top of the round. Trunk is now conscious, but lying prone on the ground. Feeling a little bit better, but still significantly threatened, especially with the amount of life she has left.
So there's Goliath, sort of, I don't know, maybe 10 feet away or something, right?
It's probably a little closer than that, actually. Yeah.
Oh, joy. So we've got Goliath, we've got Elf, and we've still got Human with a crossbow, too?
Human with a crossbow is the one that you knocked unconscious. You still have a gnome with a crossbow back in the camp.
And the Goliath's taken damage, the gnome has not?
Right.
And how's the Goliath looking?
The Goliath, as you kind of like, your eyes wake up, is probably right about the moment that you see Kimmin like slice it across the inner thigh in this arterial spray, just kind of like splatter the ground right next to you, pretty much. So he's still up. As that happened, he turned his eyes towards Kimmin, raised his axe back, but you can tell it was a vicious strike that they employed against the Goliath.
And Eldon's on Aelin, right?
Yes.
And Aelin's looking good, bad, ugly.
Aelin's hurt, you can tell, but doesn't look like he's about to drop.
Cool. I would like to stand up. Go. If I go towards the Goliath, am I going to provoke any
You're within
attacks?
striking range of the Goliath with your staff.
So I can attack the Goliath without having to like move away from anyone else, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Or no?
Uh-huh.
Okay, great. I would like to do that, and I am displeased, so I would like to apply Flurry of Blows.
Okay.
With my other key point. So my staff attack is out of my box. Probably not gonna hit with an 8.
Well, you're right. An 8 does not hit.
But I would like to still make my 2 unarmed attacks.
Okay.
So that dice is going away. And biscuits. That's less. That was a 3 and then a 2. So we'll try for one more.
All right.
Okay, so that's an 18.
An 18 will strike.
Yeah, I actually did not pull out my d4s because I have a terrible key. There we go. For 3 plus 3 is 6 damage.
Okay.
And I would really like to disengage with my racial feature. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Nimble Escape. I can use the disengage action as a bonus action on each of my turns.
Okay. Just to confirm, because I haven't never really played a monk, but is your Flurry of Blows considered a bonus action, or what is that?
Is my what?
Your Flurry of Blows, when you employ that? What is that?
Oh, no, that is a bonus action. You're right. I can't do that. Well, I'm stuck then. Let's see. As a bonus action. Yep. See how this goes. So this tiny goblin just stood up and flailed at the Goliath really ineffectually. Just sort of bares her teeth.
Yeah, but on the final strike, you just kind of like strike it right in the thigh where, Kimmin had, sliced earlier. And as you do that and pull your hand away, there's like another splurt, of blood, that comes out. Now, I think that takes us to their turns. So, Eldon is right there, and Luca is also right there, and they both would have had his attention. So we'll start with Luca, and Eldon, and then 2. All right, Eldon. You will be taking 6 points of damage. I do want to point out I rolled my 3rd natural 20, but I rolled minimal damage. So
Wait, who got hit?
Eldon got hit with the scimitar.
Oh. I thought you were saying Luca got hit with
sorry.
your 20, and I was going to be like, what?
No. Eldon got hit this time. So
the wolf is looking very, very injured.
Yeah, so essentially what happened just then is Aelin, continued to focus his attacks on Eldon and Luca, and he struck at Eldon first and missed, and then turned back to Luca, and once again kind of like glanced off the armor without doing any damage, and then immediately went right back to the wolf and placed a fairly good blow against Eldon that time. Now, Trunk and Kimmin. Actually, he was definitely focused on Kimmin. Okay, that is definitely going to be a miss as he comes down with his battle axe and doesn't even come close. You can tell that he staggered a bit from the damage that he sustained. Then that's going to take us to the lady. All right. You hear the gnomish woman kind of like back at the camp with a crossbow, just kind of like, release an expletive. You're not really sure what happened, but you heard her shout an expletive back at the camp. So that's it for them. That's going to take us to Eldon.
Actually, I was wrong last turn. Finestra goes first, then Eldon.
Oh, sorry. That's going to take us to Finestra.
Okay.
Now,
This has gone on too much long. We got to end this now, right? I think so. I think I'm close enough. But get thee behind me. And the thunder wave.
Okay.
Everybody that I want the Goliath, the elf, and that stupid gnome.
Okay, all right. So your thunder wave. What did you say it does now? 15-foot.
It is 2d8 thunder damage, and everything gets pushed 10 feet away from.
Oh, yeah. How does it attack? You said it does a 15-foot something. I can't remember.
15-foot cube.
I just want to be able
15-foot
to
cube. Okay.
position myself
Okay.
so I can not hit my cohort.
Sure.
But push.
You can definitely get the Goliath and the elf, but you can't get the gnome in that because she was attacking from ranged from a distance. So,
Alright.
but you can
Let's
get the
go.
two of them. All right, and that's going to be a
But I
save.
want to make sure that nobody in my team is in the
Sure.
way.
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay.
All right. It's going to be a save, right?
It is a Constitution saving.
Okay, that's 2 fails on that. So give me damage.
Okay. 10 points of damage.
All right, and then they have to make a strength saving throw. Is that right?
It just says
If they
have
fail?
to make a Constitution saving throw. On a fail, they take the full damage. On a success, they take half.
Okay. All right.
And they're
And
pushed.
any objects that's in the way gets pushed with them.
Okay. All right. And you said push back 10 feet?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
And it
essentially.
makes a loud boom that can be heard over 300 feet. So it's pretty loud.
Okay.
She's going to turn around and just start twerking like mad.
All right. So essentially, what happens is, she casts this thunder wave spell, and then as she does it, the Goliath, as big as it is, has already sustained, some significant critical damage, and as she, casts this thunderous boom, it's just kind of like blown back against a tree. Its head smashes against the tree, and it falls to the ground. Aelin is knocked back 10 feet, but remains standing on his feet. Now,
Oh.
that takes us
Yes, he can
to
whistle while I twerk.
Eldon.
Okay, Eldon will end the wild shape, so you see the wolf form kind of melt down into the small gnome that you recognize from before. He does that as a bonus action. And then he will activate his symbiotic entity by using of another wild shape
Okay.
use. And you see this kind of glow of a little haze of gnats and bugs surround him. And as a reaction, he'll use the halo of spores on the elf that's nearby.
Okay.
So that's another con save.
All right, that's
DC
another fail.
12. Okay, this time, because symbiotic entity is active, he does double necrotic damage. So he rolls
Okay.
2d4.
All right, give me the damage on that.
It's a 2.
Okay.
2 ones.
All right, then.
You're going to have to show me how to do that, Mushroom Man. I'll show you how to twerk.
All right. So once again, these spores release from Eldon and surround this elf, and again, lesions, begin developing on the skin of the elf. All right. That takes us to Luke Kimmin, right?
Yes, coming.
All right.
Oops. So I would like to cure wounds on Eldon if I can. Can I reach him?
Yeah, you all were like right beside one another, pretty much in combat. You could reach him.
Alden doesn't look injured at all.
Oh, he doesn't? Oh, that's right, because the wolf form takes the damage and then you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about that. Okay, so who does look injured? Like,
I'm at
horrifyingly.
9. I lost the 5 health from tripping over the thing.
Yeah.
It's true. Are you caught up to us then?
No, she's not quite caught up yet. So
Oh, I'm not. Okay. Never mind then.
Yeah.
So
Could
then
you-
everyone else is pretty much.
I think Trunk is the most injured.
Yeah.
I'm at 11 out of 16.
Oh, that's not good, but not bad. Do you want healing?
It's
I'm
fine.
good.
Everything's fine. Trunk's
We're
just
good.
burying her teeth at the Goliath. That's what you see Trunk doing, and bleeding.
Finesher's got brambles in her head and body, and she's like, "It's good. I'm good. Keep."
Okay, in that case, I'm going to take the dagger, and I would like to just keep digging it into the same wound on the Goliath. Then
The Goliath was blown back 10 feet, knocked against
blown
a
back into
tree.
the tree and smashed his head. Is he unconscious?
It very much appears to be.
Okay. So that leaves. And what happened to the gnome? I kept getting blotted out. So. I couldn't hear.
I was just telling you that she kind of like screamed an expletive back at the camp, and you don't know what happened because you weren't focused on her.
Okay. So that just leaves. How does Aelin look? Is he looking?
He's looking fairly injured. You know, he's definitely kind of bloodied right now, as you know, this kind of thunder wave just kind of blew him back. You know, he had already been bleeding from his ears and had been attacked other places
You
as well.
can't handle this jelly.
And then my question would be, is it a bonus action to tie somebody up if they're unconscious?
I don't really know. I think it would take longer than a bonus.
You can use an object as an action, not a bonus action.
Okay, then in that case, I'm going. How far away is Aelin from me? Is he at a range distance or melee distance?
I'd say he's probably about within 15 feet of you, because he got blown back 10 feet.
Okay, so 50 feet seems. I think I can shoot him with my longbow.
Sure, you could.
Can I do that, or
Yeah, definitely.
bonus action switch weapons? Okay, so I would like to shoot him with my longbow.
Okay.
14 plus 2 is 16 to hit.
16 strikes.
Yay! And that gives me an 8. 7. And I don't add it to the attack. Do I add anything to the attack damage?
Your dex bonus.
Just the dex. Okay, so 7 plus 4, that's 11 points of damage.
All right.
Thank you.
It's okay. I mean, you're
Right
welcome.
back.
Yeah, so you kind of like basically search the field real quick and decide that Aelin is your next best target. You pull out your arrow, knock it, and then release an arrow. Strikes him, in the gut. Arrows sticking out, much like Trunk has a bolt sticking out of her. He still doesn't fall, but he's staggered back, a bit. That is now going to take us to Luca.
Got enough of this elf. This elf is full of constitutions and weird.
Constitution.
Luca will hold out his holy symbol towards the elf, and he will incant Incertus Porca Imperio. And as he does so, he will fire a bolt of radiant energy directly at him. He got a 24 to hit.
Okay.
Eat it.
Damage.
15 radiant.
All right, so Luca grasps this holy symbol, says these words, and then unleashes, this energy that, what was the spell again? that you were using?
Guiding bolt.
Guiding bolt. Okay, this radiant energy just strikes the elf. Still is on his feet, but looking really poorly at this point. He's still clutching his scimitar, kind of like looking around at his fallen compatriots. But you see kind of like a look of determination on his face as he locks eyes with Luca after that strike. Now that takes us to
two things. The first is that because I hit with guiding bolt, the next attack against him that an ally takes has advantage.
Uh-huh.
And additionally, I want to use my bonus action to cast Spare. No, unfortunately, but I can cast Spare the Dying as a bonus action, just to make sure that the Goliath doesn't die from his head injuries.
Yeah.
Because normally it's an action and melee range, but because of my Circle of Mortality, it's a bonus action, has a 30-foot range, so I can do it from where I am, I think.
Okay. All right, then. So
all of you are lucky. There's no death rule of hampers all of my abilities. I want to kill you.
All right. Now that's going to take us to Astrael.
Finally! Okay, last spell slot. Gonna try casting Ray of Sickness again.
Remember, you have advantage on this because of my...
I know. That's why I'm casting it instead of Toll the Dead.
Yeah. Oh, you can do Toll the Dead?
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's not gonna hit. That's a 12.
Advantage.
Yeah, I know. Oh, that's better. 23.
23 will definitely strike.
2d8 poison damage. Where's my d8? That's not my d8. This is my d8. Okay, that's an 8. Plus an 8, so that's 16. And you gotta make a con save. Or be poisoned. Unless that killed him. Did that kill him?
I mean, that took him down for sure. So you did
good.
Ray of Sickness. How do you think that looks as Aelin falls from this?
So I'm like, oh, I gotta hit him. And so I put my staff and green light comes out and just blasts him in the face.
Okay, all right. So Astrael, extends her staff. This green light, arcs forth, strikes.
I think I got this now, guys.
Strikes Aelin in the face, and then his eyes kind of like roll back into the back of his head, and he just kind of like falls onto his back on the forest floor. Now, that takes us up to the top of the round, and Monk.
Okay.
Trunk. Excuse me.
Monk Trunk.
Okay, so Goliath's down.
She just.
Gnome ran off.
Say that again.
Gnome ran off.
So the Goliath's down, Aelin's down, and then the gnome is still there.
Wait, could I use a bonus action to say something, or is that an action?
It's a free action.
Yeah, you could say something.
Could I just say, if you turn yourself in, we'll tell them you cooperated.
All right.
Yeah, like that works.
I need to make a persuasion check.
Yeah.
I don't know. After seeing all that, I'd turn myself in.
Okay. All right. So that's going to take us to Trunk. You hear Astrael, shout that out from behind you. You look within the camp and you see that the gnomish woman is there, and you can tell that she was attempting to repair kind of like quickly the string of her crossbow. And that's what you see.
Yeah, I'm just going to go for a bap in the back of the head.
Okay, go ahead.
If she's within 40 feet of me.
You can make it, yeah.
Rad.
She's really quick to be an old lady, I tell you what.
Age is deceiving. 17.
Yes.
17 will strike. Give me damage.
Ooh, 9. Subdual, please.
All
if
right.
that matters.
Okay.
And I would like to disengage, please.
Okay. All right.
As bonus.
So you kind of like strike her across the back of the head. Her head, like lurches forward, and you can tell like she's, kind of like dazed for a bit, still standing, but she drops her crossbow to the ground and, just looks at Trunk. I yield. And we'll stop there because this has gone on a little bit longer. So if anyone of you needed to go, I'm sorry that we went longer than we normally would. But we will pick up here next time, right with the gnomish woman saying I yield to Trunk. Also, you should go ahead and prepare your characters for level 3 because when they get to a moment where they can take a long rest, they will level to 3rd level. When we begin next time, your characters will very much still be 2nd level. So you kind of need to have both sets of stats, even if it's just taking a picture of your 2nd level sheet, just so you can refer to it if needed before any long rest that you might get. So, again, prepare your level 3 characters, but also have your level 2 sheets handy as well. So, there's that. And again, we'll pick up with the gnome. Now, before we go, anybody have anything they want to say or plug? We'll start with you, Mario.
Yeah, I'm Mario Vilas. You can find more of me at Lights Camera Initiative on Twitter. Additionally, you can find our videos on the YouTube with the same name. We play and review published 5e adventure modules. So, if you're interested in that, check us out. And yeah, session was good. I enjoyed it. What's up?
All right, excellent. Anna.
You can listen to the podcast. Wow, I just forgot what it was called. Live from the Copper Cauldron. We only have 3 episodes up because life, but we're trying to get more up soon.
Okay. All right, Christy.
I ain't got nothing to plug. I'll just plug my other friends' stuff, like the Gremlin of Gallifrey or Sweatpants and Coffee. Or go to my Instagram under the Black Christy or my Twitter under the same name and look at my stuff.
Okay. All right, Elizabeth.
Nothing really to plug. I can be found on Twitter as @Griffin Argent, spelled Gryphon, and that's about it.
All right, Set.
It's not out yet, but I'm currently making TRPG adventure guide for the RPG writers camp. So eventually, at the end of the month, supposedly we'll be able to publish, providing we complete each of us completes our projects.
Cool. All right, David.
Nothing to plug. My Twitter is @DavidCWood77. I had a lot of fun tonight. See you guys next time.
All right, glad to hear. And I am RJ Cresswell. Don't really have a whole lot to plug, but you can find me on Twitter at RJ_Cresswell. We play this campaign every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, and this is the Tainted Land Scourge of Antremoor. I also have another stream that plays on Monday nights, and that's the Tainted Land Shadows of the City. And we will be playing next Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. But yeah, if you find me on Twitter, I just post D&D stuff, do giveaways, things like that. I am also doing the RPG Writers Workshop as well, so I'm hoping to have a module published in August as well. So hopefully that happens. Anyway, thank you all very much for playing tonight. I enjoyed it. I'm sorry we went a little longer than I intended to, but I hope you had fun. And I look forward to seeing you all again next Thursday night. So.
And I will have non-warlock spells prepared. That was my bad.
All right. Well, I'll see y'all on Thursday. Take care.
All right.
Bye.